Hello, welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Troy, and my guest today is Sean Daeley.
Woohoo! Hey,
Hello,
Allison.
Sean. How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah, well, glad to have you. And it's Mermania, Merman March, and you're a big Merman fan, so it is the perfect time
I know,
to
got my
have
shirt
you.
and everything.
Yeah. And I have been telling people that at some point in this episode, you will reward us with your Merman. So,
Indeed. Well, when do you want to start? I mean, I don't know if I can just do voices now.
yeah, we
It's
could
fine.
do that. Let's first say hello to the chat. Let's pretend like this is Um, but we'll do Geek Dad Life where I just recognize every third person.
I got to applaud Jay's commitment to that. I mean,
He
I think
tried.
he spends the most time on anyone
He
to
tried.
live
Yeah.
streams.
It's you always know he's lost when he recognizes the same person like the seventh time and doesn't realize
Dude's
it's the
been
same
busy
person.
though.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. Good morning, shiny plastic people. It's true, everyone except Carl. Anyone
uh
named Carl?
oh.
Yeah, no.
Sounds like we got history there. But welcome,
Yeah,
shiny
well, all of my
plastic.
exes are Carl. And
Everyone's
that's
got a
sort of
Carl.
the generic name for them.
Hmm.
You're a mess, Carl. Anyway, Hyperdelic, hello. I was on for those who are subscribed to Hyperdelic. He premiered a new format on his channel, and I got to be. I was on the maiden voyage of it. So we talked about my favorite action figure, and I still have her here from the interview.
Oh, nice. What is that? Or can I see it again?
Oh yeah, it's 1978 Kenner Leia.
Oh, wow.
To be fair, this one is from 1983. It came on the Return of the Jedi card, and this is a repo cape because those vinyl capes were garbage.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
Hot
sure it's
garbage.
expensive to try and buy like an actual one.
Yeah, it kind of is, So anyway, repo cape from Hasbro. It was on the retro collection. So I bought extras, took the cape, recaped her. It's all good.
Nice.
Thanos, hello. Thanos also has his Sunday video that went out.
Nice. Love your avatar, Thanos Copter. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Look, it's me in the chat. Good morning, Todd. Welcome. Yep, Todd was over watching Hyperdelic's channel.
Nice, nice.
Good morning, Cobweb Collector. Welcome, welcome.
Hey, Cobweb, love your videos.
Yeah, he's got some. He tends to get stuff a little early, and I like his reviews. So, yes, that was one of the early names. He was originally Seaman. So.
Yep, if I'm sure everyone's seen the toys that made us by now, but it's
yeah,
just
right.
like
I would hope.
I love some of those conversations. My other favorite one is just like, John, the cat is 4 times the figure's size. Yeah. I don't care. Put a freaking saddle on it.
I was just watching that because I have I've been redoing, and you'll appreciate this, the old kid stuff records. The first 3 of those had like black and white photos. I'm like, it would be cool. Let me color those. And I'm like, but I don't want to make time lapse. What do I do? And then so my boyfriend Matt used to sort of do like what I mean. He wasn't more in radio. He had like a zombie podcast where they had an ongoing story. So I made him read them. He did all 3, and I'm about to release the Skeletor this week. So I was rewatching the toys that made us to sort of, because it's all a little hazy about the Skeletor stuff. Everyone focuses on who came up with the name of He-Man, but Skeletor stuff is all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know, like it's all debated, and it's the interesting thing when it comes to these collaborative projects, right? Like, I mean, how do you take ownership when it's kind of like you have a contract with Mattel? Like,
it's all sort of odd, and so.
It's like, I'll give it to Mark Taylor, though. I mean, he experienced the childhood trauma that led to Skeletor. So, and I mean, if nothing else, it's got a cool story.
Well, it's funny that, okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Let's finish quickly. We've got like 4 more people in chat that I need to say hello to, but we'll get to that because that came up when I was doing research. I even chatted with Adam at Battleground blog about this. It's the best thing about making videos now is I have an excuse to like, hey, Adam. This thing from He-Man. Like, what do you know? Good morning, Black Phoenix, Alex. They are here in the house. And then this is, I don't know if you have ever picked up on this or not, Sean, but Nolan is in chat, and it is not officially a real toy tube chat if Nolan is not in your chat. So that's how you know you've arrived.
Oh, yabba dabba do. Welcome, Nolan. Like the Avatar.
Yeah. And then Radical Toys Adam just slid in the chat. So
slid into the DMs.
Yep, I think
Radical.
almost everyone in chat has colored with me before. Those who have not will shortly. And then Alex and I have done buddy colors on Instagram. So like the squad has arrived. So.
Hey squad, nice
to meet you. Alice and Troy. Well, we can't call them a girl squad because there's some dudes in there, but if I had a squad, that would be it.
The Unisquad, I guess.
I mean, like that. It'll be like the Natalie Portman rap song. I got a deaf posse. So,
when I was at Harvard, I snorted all the yay.
Yeah, get it all the time. I have been known if I can get a Long Island or two in me at a karaoke bar, I will actually open with the Natalie rap if they have it. So.
No, that's awesome. I like surprising people with my rapping rhythmically.
I don't have good rapping skills, but it's the Natalie one is so ridiculous that you can kind of get away with it.
You bring the passion and the sass.
Yeah, it's the whole what at the end, but I haven't had enough drinks to like, because it blows your voice, as you know, that would blow your voice out. So. Part of I used to have a pretty decent singing voice, and then we went to Florida for spring break one year, and I drank too much, and I hit all the notes, because I used to be able to hit some of this Mariah Carey, what's her face, the greatest singer in the world, Celine Dion.
Oh my!
And on the way back from Florida, and it was The Power of Love. That was her big song at the time. And I blew my voice out and didn't realize that's what happened. Lost my voice for a few days, but didn't do anything with it.
Oh no! Did you get polyps or anything?
Huh?
I said, did you get polyps?
Yeah, probably. No. I never, like it's not like I ever went and got it checked out. It was just like it was really bad. So, and still to this day. So. Anyway, that's why I'm not the greatest singer in the world.
Indeed. Well, at least you have the German accent. That's
important. Right.
You can go very far with the German accent. People will respect you. Maybe fear you a little, but that's okay.
The trick to the German accent is you should always sound like you're about to like hawk a loogie.
That helps, yeah.
Yes.
As you guys might guess, I love accents and impressions and stuff like that. It's kind of how I started with all this. I mean, my earliest memories going back to like when I was 5 and my brother Tristan was 7, and we would just like watch Donald Duck together and we just parrot what we heard. Just like, oh my God, that's so nice to meet you.
That's a good Donald Duck. Some people do very bad Donald Ducks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you either can or you can't. I can't really explain how I do it. I know Pat Fraley, like he was the voice of Krang and Baxter Stockman from the original Turtles in Brave Star, if you go back further. But he explains that like if you go whack and at the same time, you can get the but that's not quite how I do it. I don't know. It's just part of my genetics. There's duck in our family history somewhere.
Maybe your mom in a different life was Beverly from Howard the Duck.
Oh my, very good.
No mom slander there. Like
nice reference.
Right? Yeah, I was just watching that the other day. That's a slammin' song nobody wants to admit is slammin'. So sorry to any of the youth watching it who are embarrassed that he's slamming that way. But
I'm so out of touch with vernacular these days. Like, I don't know. I didn't even know where to get started.
Yeah, right. Well, definitely I should not be saying that Howard the Duck, the song is slammin', but I'm going to say it. And
Howard the Duck.
This channel is not for children anyway, so it's all good. All right, let's see. So really quick, let's pretend this is an official. So what are you coloring with today, Sean?
So what am I coloring with? No, just good old-fashioned Crayola, or ultra color, actually, off-brand Crayola colored pencils. I actually stole them from my fiance Rachel. She teaches kids theater, so
Well,
she has an
she's got,
assortment of teaching tools.
well, very good. Glad it's good to know she has those. So when she joins me to do some Shira in the coming weeks and months.
Totally. I wanted to ask about those the She-Ra figures behind you. Is that the
Yeah.
Flutterina?
Yep, Flutterina. That was my first eBay purchase. Was
Ooh.
Flutterina? I got her for. I was like $25 mint on card.
That's incredible.
Yeah, right.
Holy
Free
crap.
shipping. And I was in I was in Austin at the time, and it had to come from like New York. So it took, and it was during the dark ages, like 1999. So it came all the way from like New York. And it was back in the dark ages of like where PayPal was just becoming a thing. So it's like you would, like win an auction, and it was say Sunday. So the next day you had to go to the post office and get a money order because not everyone would take a check.
Oh man.
And then you had to mail the money order. Then it had to get to New York. They had to cash the money order. Then mail the Flutterina. It was an ordeal.
Oh man.
But yeah, I've got Flutterina, the first eBay purchase. Angela, I bought when my mom passed about in 2013. So like it's almost 11 years since she passed. But I did the grief thing, so I got Angela, Bo, and Glimmer.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they were all pretty affordable on eBay. Ironically, it was right after the like financial crash thing, so people were selling things too cheap. And then Double Trouble, I got at Dillard senior year in high school. That's technically my first adult collector, but I just sort of had to play it off because I was with my friends.
Oh, totally.
We were buying suede vests and stuff because it was like the 90s, and they were clearing out their toy department. So
nice. Capitalize on that. I think my first eBay purchase, I was still in high school, and I found out like someone had pirated DVDs of the original He-Man series, and these were not, I mean, I'm sure other people have done it. These were not quality like copies. Like they didn't had like chintzy labeling, and half of them didn't work.
Right. And they had some parts of the commercial in them.
Yeah, it was like VHS quality. There was that, and but I spent like $50 on the whole series. But still, at the time, I mean, this was like Napster era, slow internet speeds. Like streaming was just a dream in someone's eye.
I remember having AOL dial-up and trying to download Liz Phair songs from the internet, and like a 3-minute song taking like 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
And God forbid somebody. This is when I turned off my caller ID because, like I'd be in the middle of downloading a Liz Phair song from the internet for 3 hours, and then at 2 hours, 58 minutes, with a minute left to go, some asshole would call and kick me off the internet. And then, of course, the download died. You couldn't restart it.
It's so frustrating.
And then because it was in your like cache, like your cookies, you have to go through all the steps to clear it because it wouldn't re-download. Because it was like, no, you've already downloaded this. It's already here.
Oh God, I forgot about that. And like, I mean, you would try and do it overnight too, and then you'd show up, and there's like there's some error. Like, God dang it, it'd take a week to get a single file.
Yeah, the internet dark ages.
Indeed.
Back when faxes were still a thing.
Kids today don't know how good they have it.
They don't. All right, let's see. Yeah, Eldora is somewhere in the chat. Duchess, hello.
Oh yeah, that's right. So some of the early Thundercats stuff or like the Motu versus Thundercats. Good to see you, Duchess. Yeah. Let's see.
Duchess, Duchess has a whole. I was about to say a whole ass channel, but then I'm like, that makes it sound different though. She does. I don't know if you're. I'm gonna pretend you're not.
Channel. That's very specific demographic.
Channel. Right. It's for people who enjoy whole ass channels rather than a half ass channel.
As opposed to the hauling ass channel.
Yeah, the hauling ass channel, that's a different vibe. But she has a fun channel. It's especially if you enjoy horror.
That's what I was gonna say. I had heard it was horror themed. Yeah.
It's like Tales from the Crypt meets Elvira meets its own thing. It's fun.
Interesting. So is this like audio format or is it a little?
Yeah, she does audio. Like she people submit stories. She finds stories on Reddit and she reads them. It's really
Excellent.
cool. And because, you know, like I do like a time-lapse coloring video every day, I am at the table a lot coloring.
Mm-hmm.
And often that I'm listening to her stuff, or, you know, I consume way too much YouTube, but it's easier to do YouTube because it's all right here. I'm set up over here now.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, yeah. Anyway,
No, I love YouTube. I mean, I work from home, so very often I'll just have some. And toy reviews are great because it's not like I'm not missing interesting information if
yeah,
I'm
right.
like not paying attention, you know. And then maybe they'll be like, oh, look up, oh, cool picture, you know,
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like that. But I mean, when you're answering emails and stuff like that, and funny thing about voice acting is that the voice acting part is, if you're lucky, like 20% of your actual work.
Right. The
A
other
lot
half
of it is similar to being a freelance creator, is marketing, like doing training,
right.
like networking, research, like all that stuff.
But
You
is,
do.
I guess that's a good question. Like, do you have like a YouTube channel where you like do monologues, or like how do you market
I
yourself?
should do that. You know, I mean, it's like I have. Well, we'll talk about it. Like, and I sent you a resource document too. Like
Yeah,
a
you
while
can.
ago, somebody asked me to basically do a presentation on like voiceover training, first steps, kind of things like that. And because I mean, every day, like if you look on Facebook, if you look on Reddit, if you look on Twitter, people are asking how to do this stuff, and
Yeah,
it's not like like I'm a little frustrated in that people don't do their own research, but also I'm definitely that kind of let me Google that for you guy.
yeah.
So,
Well, you
um,
should multi-level market yourself, like,
mhm.
and build your little pyramid of like, if you want to be the voice actor supreme, all you need to do is take
It's
17 courses with me for $19.99 per course, plus a $70 registration fee.
No, there are people who do that, honestly. I mean, we talk, I actually work for a voice acting school called Global Voice Acting Academy. And
Yeah,
very early on, we had, as part of our mission statement, is like, we are not a predatory school. Like,
right,
we do not create, or we tell people if we don't think they have a potential for this. And we don't let people invest in what's called a demo until we feel they're ready. We feel they're
nice.
marketable, right? So
Yeah,
briefly, a demo, you've probably heard examples of it. Like just look up voice actor websites or
yeah,
agent websites, and you can see these minute to minute and a half samples of, if it's commercial demo, maybe 5 or 6 different commercials in different styles for different products. If it's a character one, like animation or video game, very often it's like 6 to maybe a dozen different characters.
yeah,
And back in the day, those things used to be like there wasn't really standards, and basically it's just like just show them everything you think you can do. But now there's a lot more delineation. You know,
yeah,
like the people who cast for commercial don't necessarily cast for cartoons, and even the people who cast for cartoons don't necessarily cast for video games. So
right,
you kind of want, if you want to pursue different areas, it's really at some point you want to consider having a demo for each one you do.
right,
um, but again, like I encourage people to start small, figure out what your 2 maybe 3 money genres are, so that way like you can sort of have your practical goals where you might actually make some money while you're training and stuff like that,
right.
and then your more aspirational ones like your AAA games, your Disney, Pixar, stuff like that.
Well, and so yeah, let's just. I'm gonna pretend like this is a real podcast and not a like casual hangout coloring channel.
Yeah.
Um, so it must be wait, wait, I gotta do this properly. There we go. So it must be really hard in the modern day and age when all of these big name actors are now also doing voiceover work. All right, there, we got that out of the way. I did the official podcast. So.
The framing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, the truth is that people have been using celebrities to promote animation since
yeah.
it began. You
Okay,
know, like I mean, going back to Disney, like Snow White in a lot of those early films, those were radio talent. Same
Really?
thing with Hanna-Barbera. You know, it's not
Okay.
like these people just appeared out of nowhere. A lot of them transitioned from one medium to this new one, you know?
Except the
And
silent film actors.
oh yeah, yeah, you might have had to pivot careers at that point. But yeah, and you're not the first. Like, I get asked this all the time when I do presentations and stuff, like, how do you feel about such and such getting it? And it's it it's just marketing. You know,
Yeah.
it's getting butts and seats. There was some controversy over the recent Mario film where, like, why isn't Charles Martinet like voicing Mario? And
Right.
like, let's be honest, could you listen to this for 90 minutes straight? I don't think so. Like, you know, it's the same reason.
Only if you slid in somebody touching my spaghetti.
Wait, what was that?
Somebody touching my spaghetti. I don't know.
Somebody touching my spaghetti.
Yeah, right.
That's awful.
On Vines or whatever at one point. Like, there's this old cartoon that I'm gonna assume it's probably well, it's not. Italian isn't a race. So it would be like stereotypical.
The stereotype.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the chef from the Italian chef from The Simpsons. You're
Yeah.
like, Giuseppe is such a happy monkey.
He's probably taken. It's probably inspired. I'll send when we're off afterwards. I'll send you the link to the somebody touch it, because I had never seen. It's an old cartoon, probably from the 40s or 50s, like a Merry Melody.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend Angelique, who does stand up, was big into Vines when Vines was, and I didn't because I'm old. I was like, Vines, what the hell is Vines? And so she would send me these compilations of Vines when we were hanging. We briefly did a podcast together, you know, because that's what everyone did for, you know, a hot minute there. Well, still to this day, everyone's doing a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But she was sending me all these Vines, and one of them was like, and it just cracked me up because it's somebody touching my spaghetti. It was
touching my spaghetti. There we go.
Bears, but instead of like bear, well, I guess maybe they were bears, but they were very stereotypically Italian, and I guess Goldilocks touched their spaghetti.
Oh no! Somebody touching my spaghetti.
Well, what's funny is also at the same time, she and I got really obsessed by that song, by what's his name, Matthew. That Nobody's Gonna Break My Stride song.
Oh yeah.
So I sent her, you know, because he's a little ridiculous, in a good way, in an 80s way. But he's just very much like a production side musician, and they've of course got him like on Solid Gold and like an 80s gold lame and stuff. And so I edited it so that like whenever he gets to the Nobody's Gonna Break My, it was when I was learning how to edit videos, I dropped that and dropped in Somebody Touching My Spaghetti and sent it to, and posted it on Facebook and tagged her. I'm like, oh my god, you have to see this, it's amazing. And I got her.
Nobody touching my spaghetti.
Every year when Facebook is like, hey, you might want to remember this, I tag her again, and she falls for it every year. It's because she's getting old and forgetful. So. But yes, I'll send you the I can't post that on YouTube because one, it's stereotypical. People will cancel me. I haven't learned how to play my ukulele yet.
And I will say, if like accents are great tools for voice actors, but if you're gonna learn them, don't do the stereotypical ones from the 80s and 90s. It's so bad. Like, I mean, I love, like, I'm a big voice acting nerd. I love to follow these people and stuff. But like, for example, Rob Paulson is Haji in like The Real Adventures of Johnny Quest. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, there are a couple where I'm just like, ooh, yeah, that's not aging in the way it should be aging.
Oh yeah. No.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh my goodness.
It's interesting, like, for people who don't know, there was this whole, like, there was a bit of this controversy and call for like authenticity and representation, or better representation in the voice acting world. So like, you do, luckily, and maybe even more so in VO than other areas of acting in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
you do see like agents and casters actively casting people who are more representative of the characters they're depicting. And some people would argue that we've gone a little extremist with that, but in my
Right.
opinion, it's kind of it's just what's necessary in order to move the pendulum to a more moderate
Well,
place.
sometimes you have to overcorrect after decades of
Yeah.
being not correct. So yeah, no. Yeah, there's that, but also like I don't like there's some really bad stuff, like vocally that's happened where it's like, yeah, like I'm glad we don't do this anymore.
Oh, totally, totally. No, I
Uh,
mean it's like animation. It like I don't know. It's a product of its people, and
yeah, it's
unfortunately,
true.
American humor was really mired in stereotype.
Yeah, it really, yeah, no, for sure. Well, I recently rewatched The Phantom Menace, and I was like, and I'm going to see it in the theater in a few weeks, but I was just like, wow,
Like
the
Jar
Trade
Jar.
Federation and Watto, like, yeah, okay, George Lucas, that's Jar
Mm-hmm.
Jar also, but like more so the Trade Federation and Watto were like, oh, like, yeah, okay.
Who could we
Um,
be emulating here? Like,
yeah, what are we and like I was a lot less I was living in Texas at the time. Like I remember the first time I met somebody who was openly Jewish, and
mm,
that's the limitation. There are a lot of people of color, and especially in Austin there are a lot of Hispanic people from like Mexico.
mm-hmm.
So there's certain, like things that I'm aware of, but at the time, like there are many ethnicities and different religions that I had not been subjected to in the South. The Deep South is,
It's
like,
practically in its own country.
yeah, it's like its own thing where, like, I later found out my grandmother's father, well, my grandmother wasn't the bastard child of, her mother, well, they weren't married, but her mother just pretended that she didn't know who the father was rather than admit my grandmother's father was Jewish because it was the 30s. So
Wow.
yeah, so like, that sort of thing. So yeah, so we've come a long way.
Definitely. More room to grow, but still,
Yes,
that's anything, right?
definitely. I think yeah, there's sort of that argument, and like I find myself going back and like again, like I think the Mario thing was one of those instances where there was like, well, Chris Pratt's definitely not Italian, but
And
at the
he
same time, do we want somebody doing that stereotypical Italian accent?
Well,
Like,
I think it was. I mean, Mario's iconic, and it's a little like it's kind of its own thing now, I
yeah,
guess. Um, like he means a lot to a lot of people. But again, like I said, it's really premeditated. It's like
yeah,
Chris Pratt is definitely on fire, like still on fire right now,
yeah,
and it just and like honestly, I was pretty happy with like his wasn't offensive or anything. I thought, why not make him sound like he's from Brooklyn? I mean, Bob Hoskins did the same thing,
yeah.
in the live action.
Well,
So,
that's just in the '80s how Bob Hoskins hid his English accent.
oh yeah, just put in a bigger accent.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
Oh,
I actually heard. I think it was a Secret Galaxy video on Ducktales, and it was kind of a similar thing. Notice how Donald is never the star of his own show,
yeah.
right? Because he's near incomprehensible and like you
Yeah.
can't have a whole 22-minute episode like that. So that's where Scrooge McDuck came from. That's where Darkwing came
Yeah.
from, right?
Dark
So there
was really good.
I know that we really did like I mean with X-Men 97 coming out this week. I was just like, we were such kings and queens in the
Well, I
90s,
was,
We had
like
so many great shows.
I was in college for most of that, but like I remember like coming home from college, stopping at McDonald's on the way home from school to get those McDonald's the Happy Meals that had the Batman animated series toys
Oh,
in them
nice,
because
nice.
those were really good. But I remember rushing home to watch, like whenever because originally the animated show was only on Sundays, but then like it was on in the afternoons once they got enough episodes. And I remember rushing home after classes with my McDonald's Happy Meal on like Friday to catch the Friday episode.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother watched like Gargoyles and
That's another one. Yeah. Ooh, finally found the right merman color. It's like a specific. They say green blue here, but maybe like a
Yeah, no, it's
teal. I
kind of
guess you could.
yeah. I've with the Prismacolor, which is what I'm going to use today, so that I can get the right hue. It's the turquoise cobalt, and then I go over, do that lightly, and then slide in afterwards with light aqua.
Ooh,
So
nice.
it's like some turquoise, shades of turquoise. So
we were talking in Discord and stuff. Like I am no visual artist. I am a vocal one, but
right.
I can color in the lines, guys. So
Yeah, no, that's good.
I can color at a first grade level. But
That's that's kind of a lot. It's funny because everyone that I've invited people on, they're like, oh, like no, like I'm not artistic. It's like that's not why I do this.
yeah, I mean it's like it or I it's kind of we were talking about like mindless distractions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's a meditative.
Yeah, it's like during the pandemic, a lot of people were sort of doing the adult coloring because it's good for de-stressing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also pretty accessible. Like I think there are a lot of people who I think who do really amazing stuff in adult coloring, who don't really consider themselves artists, and maybe can't draw or can't whatever. But like basic color theory, I think anyone can unlock. And shading and all the things, like it's pretty easy if you you have to spend time. It's not something you can just sort of pick up and
Yeah, it's like any creative skill. It's just like
yeah.
you just have to do it a lot.
Yeah, you do have to spend some time on it, but I think it's accessible to pretty much anyone if you just take the time with it, which is cool. Like I think creative, and I've said it before on here, so people who watch me regularly are going to be like, oh, there she goes with the bullshit again. But
everyone's got a philosophy.
Yeah, I pretty much think anyone can be an artist. No, but we can't all be Leonardo da Vinci. We're not all going to be good artists. The art you make probably will never, 1,000 years from now, people aren't going to find it and be like, oh my God, it's amazing. But I also think that sort of mindset is why a lot of people don't do creative stuff, because it's like,
and we're often told too, like if there's no real like material benefit or professional one or whatever,
right,
I mean it's difficult. There's not enough hours in the day to do everything, but
right.
they just having a creative outlet and doing something like flexing a different part of your brain, I think is really important.
Yeah. Well, and it's, like even myself, like I spend hours every week, but it's partly so that I can record it and stick it on the internet for content. Like even I have sort of become guilty of sort of falling into that, like monetize your hobbies as an excuse to do creative things. So I sort of struggle with that. But
and I'll tell you, monetizing your hobbies is a good way to squeeze the joy out of them.
yeah, it's true. Like, and that is the one thing I will say, and that's sort of why my content is pretty coloring heavy, because so far that has not happened.
That's great.
There isn't a lot of custom figure stuff, because as I was working up custom stuff and working on making videos, like I stopped enjoying doing custom figures. So
Well,
yeah.
it's difficult when it's like I said, when there's a hobby, there's like less pressure to perform. There's less like you don't have to have that frequency or that consistency.
As long as you're happy with how it looks, it's good. But if it's not, like your paint's a little sloppy, some jerk on the internet's going to be like, "Wow, I could do better than that." I mean,
man, that's another reason why I'm not too active on like my old YouTube channel. It's like negative feedback. I can't take it.
I got that on a video, a Smurf video I did one time, where somebody was like, "I could do better than that." It's been sitting with me with this week, because I just was like, oh my God, thanks, and moved on. But I really kind of wish now I had said like, oh, I'd love to see you do it, like, but in an encouraging way, not in a like,
Oh, not as a
Yeah, like you
combative.
should do it. Like, get up there, show me how much better you are than me instead of talking all this shit, kid. No,
Well,
just
that's the
kidding.
thing. It's like usually like people who have an axe to grind. It's usually something. It's their ish, not yours.
Yeah,
You know, and so like I don't know why you would fault anyone for like, hey, I'm offering
it's such
an
a
island of connection in
yeah,
this like
right.
cesspool of
So,
internet
right.
toxicity.
Just yeah, right. Like scroll by my videos so you can watch the one of like like I whatever like YouTube shorts or sometimes like I can't figure out how to make it work. Like with TikTok, I will say like if you interact with certain videos, that's what you get.
Mm-hmm.
With YouTube, I have not figured that out. So I'll
No,
be
it kind of pulls from all of your feed or like from whatever you watch. So I'm noticing far less consistency
yeah,
there.
and it's like TikTok, like I watch a lot of art videos. Like I'll get art videos, or if I watch a lot of drama videos, or then I'll get the drama. But it's like with YouTube, it's like I'll get a bunch of art videos and I'll be like, this is great. I want 20 more of these. And then in the middle of it, it's like weird celebrity news. And it's like, I don't care.
Hmm.
I'm sorry that, Ben Affleck got a yeast infection or whatever from like his
Batfleck,
neighbor's dog,
no.
but I don't care. Right? Like that's not what I'm watching shorts for.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long form video, so I can get the full one, the full all the deets on that yeast infection. Like what did Ben Affleck do? What did Jennifer he's
No, I
Jennifer
primarily use those shorts for like one of my favorite or like I'm a big fan of like Dungeons and Dragons and Critical
yeah,
Role and Dimension
okay.
20 and especially love Brennan Lee Mulligan. He's like if that could be my final form, it would be so great. He's
Nice.
so they have this comedy or improv show called Dropout. Or I think that's their channel. And so they have a bunch of free samples of it on YouTube and their YouTube shorts and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And so it's a great way to enjoy that without getting the channel. And
Yeah.
they've had some great videos like what would it look like if there instead of the ghost of Christmas past, it was oh, DuckTales? Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think we're talking about Batman. And I'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Say it ain't so. But anyways, so we're talking about the ghost of St. Patrick's Day instead of the ghost of or Christmas past. And he's
Yeah.
like, I am Begorra Ebenezer. Let me take you back to Dublin in 1865,
Oh
where
no.
great Saint Peter came to banish the snakes from Ireland. They're killing pagans, Ebenezer, and you better follow, or it's the road to perdition ye be bound. It's just so.
Oh my god. Like what you should be doing. See, if that popped up in my shorts feed, I would be less angsty than like finding out about or Gwyneth Paltrow can't quit veganese.
Oh man, vegan. Oh god, that sounds disgusting. But
Yeah, I'm just like if you like mayonnaise, just eat it. If you're a vegan, then just don't eat mayonnaise. But like I had veganese once, and that is minutes of my life. At the end of it, I'm gonna want back. Like it was like trying to eat oil, but like bad, not even like motor oil where you're just like, well, this is self harm happening. I'm trying to harm myself by eating. It's just like this is bad. Like, and
it's
it
food that's in denial.
yeah, right. Well, there's this great quote from her that I adore that often pops up in my Facebook memories, and then I'll reshare it because I turned it into a quote. Because I read it and it was one of those things like I don't read a lot of celebrity news because often when they say this inane stuff, it cracks. It was like when Oprah did that campaign where she was like, "I love bread. I can't get enough bread."
Oh no.
Um, but the quote was from Gwyneth Paltrow. It was like, "Me and my family can't get enough of veganese. We eat it all of the time. It's a little bit crazy how much we like it."
I don't know. That sounds like an endorsement deal to me.
Right. It was right after that she started selling her own brand of veganese, I'm sure.
See, yeah, no,
But
totally.
after her candle, I'm not sure that I would want to eat any food product that comes from because like what does this veganese smell like, Gwyneth? Where did the eggs come from, Gwyneth? Anyway.
Oh, I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about Batman because we brought it up
Yeah, let's
earlier.
do it.
Who's your favorite villain?
Mine?
Yeah.
I would say technically Catwoman, but she's more of an anti-hero at this point. I like
Yeah.
Scarecrow because old school
Yes.
Scarecrow is actually scary.
Let's
Um,
see. There we go.
so Scarecrow is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah, he's probably my favorite, especially like this particular version where they kind of the second design where they
oh
made him the
yeah,
more
yeah.
uh let's see. This was like the McFarlane reissue of the DC Direct ones. He's a spindly guy. He needs a stand, but
He got even the old Kenner figure of that one, but he also was cool because he had the piping in his head so that you could like put
oh,
the
that's
light.
right.
Yeah,
He had the creepy eyes, right? Or the
yeah.
light up eyes. Um No, it's funny. Like back then, I didn't really get a lot of those figures because I was at this weird age. I was born in '86.
Yeah,
We had a crap ton of He-Man figures because I had two older brothers, and so we
right.
had like
They were
two
revolving
Grayskulls
around.
and Stake Mountains already, and just like most everyone that I could think of. Um, but anyways, like I wasn't as drawn to the figures like the Kenner ones, like possibly because of that. I was like, "Where's my big muscly ones?" Or
Right.
that, and I wanted Spider-Man figures too. But anyways, always loved that Scarecrow, but particularly because of his voice.
Yeah.
He's just really good. Like he captured the dramatic cerebralness of it all. Um, let's see. What's a good quote for him? Let's see. Dang it. It's the fear of victory and the terror of the Scarecrow, or something to that effect.
Well,
But
and that's what I liked about them though, is they didn't go like on the old Super Friends show, like which is like that was a great show. Don't get me wrong, but Scarecrow they did sort of like the creepy voice or whatever. I
it was
like,
very like I think it was Don Messick who did
yeah,
that. He did
yeah, and it
like
was,
he was in the stable of like Hanna-Barbera
yeah. So it was
characters.
very like like, oh, this is a very creepy, scary character. But what I liked and this was sort of a lot of what I liked about Batman the animated series was they were sort of spinning out of Batman Returns and Batman 1989. So they were sort of reevaluating and doing these villains, like taking them serious. Even like Clock King, they really took
Oh
seriously.
yeah, no,
And
like they completely changed. And for a guy in a suit, he's pretty intimidating.
yeah, like
Like,
but, like I liked Scarecrow because they didn't do this sort of over the top, silly, scary voice. Like he had which ends up, of course, being more scary because then he's very educated. He's
no, and
very
those old drawings, like it definitely looks just like a wrinkled like
yeah,
bag face. But yeah, and so like those were definitely the days of like this is children's content and these are probably targeting like 4 to 6 year olds.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's about like well, and it also played in syndication, the old Super Friends stuff for decades.
Mm-hmm.
But Batman the Animated really was, like I think, again, I was college age, so but it came right out of sort of Batman Returns, which I really liked.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, I liked it a little bit more than I liked Batman '89.
Oh,
Cat was
interesting.
so
That's
cool.
pretty. I
Yeah, I
forget what I
wasn't.
saw first. I was too scared of
Yeah.
like the first. I cried when Penguin ate the cat.
Oh yeah. There's a
It
lot
was
of that upset me because it's just. But again, it made it increased the stakes. But I just. Yeah, Batman '89. I'm not a big Jack Nicholson fan in general. I think he's a little bit. Um,
overrated.
yeah, that's exactly what I was. And then I was like, well, people cancel me for that, but I don't care. Um, Send them after me. I live not close, but I live not far from the exteriors of where they filmed The Shining. So
Oh
I'll just
wow.
trick him into like freezing himself to death again. Um, like leave a trail of like breadcrumbs, of like torn up Lakers tickets or something. And,
All right, I realize I haven't actually been showing my efforts
oh
so
yeah,
far.
no, you
There
should.
we go.
Very
No,
good. No, that's color wise, like the skin
let's see.
looks really
I'm
good.
curious. That little part near his shoulder, is that his neck or part of his pauldron? What do you think? I was like, I don't know if I should make it yellow or green.
That's a good question. I'm gonna guess that it's like a whisker.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it's because I mean that the figure in the cartoon, he's got the weird half pauldrons,
Mm,
that like cut off at the middle of the shoulders.
yeah, right.
So I'm going with fin slash
Yeah,
neck on
yeah,
that one.
yeah. I would just make it like a neck thing. That's what I'm gonna do. Again, I'm doing that thing that I do the backgrounds first now because if you do the main person first when you're making a short, people stop watching. So
Oh no.
you get better
Well, we're
watch
attacking it
time.
from different angles then. All right.
Yeah, right. Most people do the main. I also am very impatient, so if I color him first, then I get bored with the background and don't finish it. So this
That's
is why,
interesting though. We both thought of doing purple or magenta for the octopus.
yeah. Well, I mean, it just makes sense. Like
Hmm.
that's a cartoon octopus is going to be sort of that pink to purple
I was
range.
gonna say it's either pink, purple, or orange is what you usually see.
Yeah, and I almost did orange, but I was like, I wanted more of the pink sort of because for me anyway, it goes better with sort of the hues. And then I'm going to use the orange down and sort of the seaweed and stuff. So,
Nice, nice. We were
and
talking
now,
back to Batman. I've actually been
yeah.
enjoying the Batman audio adventures. I don't know if anyone's heard
Oh,
this. It's like
I have not.
it's a fully produced audio production drama, whatever you want to call it, with
Yeah,
sound effects and music, and it's very much almost like you're listening to the radio because it gets interrupted with like
yeah,
newscasts um and like fake ads and stuff like that. And it's really funny because like you'll have you kind of get to hear the perspective of like cops and citizens living in Gotham. Like,
yeah.
God, it's so annoying when Joker like intercepts the television broadcast for an hour.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's just like, and he was just staring at it, emptying stuff out of his pockets like a magician. Like,
Oh
but
my God. Where is that at that you're
it's
watching?
on HBO Max or
Okay,
Max.com or whatever. You might be able to find it on the streaming things like Spotify
okay.
or things like that. But really good cast. It's got Chris Parnell is the narrator. He's Cyril
He's
Figgis
very good.
from Archer and
Dr. Switchman,
oh, what's that one from?
30 Rock.
Oh yes, yeah,
Dr.
totally.
Spaceman, but Switchman. So,
Spachimin, that's
uh,
awesome.
uh,
So yeah, I mean, and he like I love his voice. I mean, he's doing what he should because he's got golden pipes. Great
okay.
choices: Scarecrow, Two Face, Mister Freeze. Um,
So I'm not at all going to make you do this, but this request has happened. So I'm
all
just
right,
letting
so
you know.
Well, I'll do you a favor, yes. So, one of my favorite accents to do is Sean Connery. So, if you have any favorite Connery quotes, now's your time. Let's see. Dragonheart, that's a good one. I'm sorry, Bowen. I hope you
I
like it well
like
done.
my favorite Connery quote is not an actual Connery quote. It's when
Jim
Daryl
Carrey.
Hammond,
What's that?
Daryl Hammond does them on Jeopardy on
Oh,
Saturday Night Live, and it's whenever he says, "I'll take." Well, he doesn't require. It's the category is therapist for 200.
oh,
And,
I know. I know. It's.
yeah,
I don't know
right.
what we can say on YouTube, but we'll try
Yeah,
some of the other ones.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think that one gets you sort of blocked. So sadly,
Yep. Yep.
but
Let's see. Well, one that we can do though, it's not too inappropriate, is like I'll take animal noises for 500.
yeah.
This is the sound a doggy makes, and he chimes in. He's like, "Moo." He's like, "No, that is incorrect. It's the noise your mother made last night."
Right? Oh my God.
No, we would have
Oh,
accepted bark, woof, or rough. Ah, rough, just the way your mother likes it, isn't it, Trebek?
oh my God, those are so good. Like,
And like that was right around I was like 13 at that time,
yeah,
and so like I used to annoy the crap out of my family because I would watch movies and cartoons in like the VHSs into the ground because
yeah.
I was literally trying to
Trying to
memorize
figure
and
it.
learn the voices and all that stuff. Um, and then like 13, I just really love comedy. I love Comedy Central. It was in its heyday. It was just
Yeah,
stand-up comedy, SNL all the time.
yeah.
Um,
I would watch all the old SNL like in the afternoon when it would play.
hmm and then yeah, just trying to imitate the characters that you hear,
And I just love Sean because he was so charming and all that stuff. Um,
like we were talking about Agatha Christie with my girlfriend's parents earlier, and he's
Yeah,
got this great role in the original Murder on the Orient Express.
that was
He
a pretty
plays this
good.
this
Yeah.
colonel, and he's like having an affair with this woman, Mrs. Devon or Dunham or something like that.
I think it's Devonshire. I
Devon,
believe.
that's right, because it was that you find out later that it's Devonshire
Yeah.
or Devonshire, and like Perot comes to him, and they point out that it's most likely this murder was committed by a man and a woman because of the intensity of the dagger depths.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, you realize, Colonel, is that the crime was most likely committed by a man and a woman?
and he's like, God damn it, Miss Devon is not a woman. She's a lady.
Oh my God! Right? I forgot about that. I went through a phase in like 8th grade where I read all of the old Agatha Christie's.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then of course watched all of the movies, and it was because I got really because I watched a lot of horror movies as a kid. I really so one of my weird favorite movies was this German movie called Baron Blood,
Oh, interesting.
which is Mario Bava, and there's an actress in it, Elke Summer from Germany, who's apparently something of a sex symbol. She was in some of the Pink Panther movies, but she was in one of the adaptations of 10 Little Indians, which is not what we call it now. It's now
Yeah,
in the
10 Little Native Americans.
right,
Or-
but which was them changing it from the original version, which is even worse than. Yeah, and so it's like soldiers now, and because I recently picked up a copy, because I have copies of all of the ones from because there's been like 20 film adaptations, so I have like all of the old film tie-in copies of that throughout the years, and yeah, so I went through that phase, but she had a really thick German accent, and I never got why, like, why is it she's, like in all of these American movies, and then later when I became aware as an adult, whenever sort of DVD really made it easier to get foreign films unedited.
Oh, yeah.
And then I saw some of her original German film, and I'm like, oh, she was a very sexy international star that they, like, it's like, okay, it makes sense now. But she had a really thick German. It was why I took German in high school, because I wanted to be Elke Summer. And
That's awesome.
she had the China Phillips wedge, and I had the China Phillips wedge. So it was a whole.
No, I don't know why I wanted to take German. I like at that time when I was in high school, my family. I have military parents, so we moved to Okinawa at the time, and so I was stupid. I was like, oh, everyone's learning Spanish. I'm gonna learn Japanese and German. Like everyone speaks Spanish, but
right.
But I don't know. It helps. I can do great German and Japanese accents now. But...
Yeah, my friend. Well, part two, what happened with the German was that year our French teacher had a nervous breakdown.
Oh no!
So our English teacher, who was from Germany, was like, okay, well, because our school had to offer a foreign language option, so German was the option that year.
Nice.
And I was like, let me take it. I will further my emulation of Elke Summer by learning how to speak German. And yeah, I forgot about my French teacher. The French teacher who had a nervous breakdown the year before was my reading teacher in 8th grade, and she was where all the Agatha Christie books lived, was in the library of the reading room that she taught from. So
very cool.
It all ties in, and now she has me blocked on the internet because she believes in really crazy conspiracy theories, and I called her out on it on Facebook.
Oh wow! I thought it was because you mentioned her nervous breakdown.
Yeah, no. Well, I did, because you know how online arguments can get. So I did at one point, because I said something. She corrected my grammar. I'm like, well, if you hadn't have been in the middle of a nervous breakdown, maybe I would know that better.
Oh,
when he
snap.
taught me that, and that was when she blocked me.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, grammar is interesting. Like language is organic. And so now it's like stuff that was like, I mean, words that weren't considered English are now considered English when we were growing up. Like grammar has changed. Like, for example, the whole like so and so and I or so and so and me, no one uses properly anymore.
Well, it was literally just, like when you're on your phone, autocorrect sometimes does not help you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was one of those where it's like autocorrect flipped my your to you are. And I'm just like, ma'am, whatever.
I have enough trouble different. It's funny. Like language is interesting, and phones have definitely like affected literacy globally. Like when I was in Japan, like the teachers were telling us, it's like not only are they struggling to learn English writing, but also Japanese because, like for example, with kanji, or for people who don't know, like Japanese has several writing systems. You have 2 what are called syllabaries. In other words, they just represent sounds. They don't mean letters or words in and of themselves. And that's hiragana and katakana. Sergeant Short, I know nothing. Yeah.
Right. That's a good one.
And then Hogan, but but anyway, so you have hiragana, which is kind of the closest thing to our alphabet you could consider, I guess. Which is what they teach to young children and stuff like that. And then you have what's called katakana, which is what they use to write out foreign words, right? Like, for example, McDonald's is makudo narudo, right? Okay. Hamburger is hambaga. And so that's the system that you would use to write that. And honestly, if you're traveling to Japan, learn katakana because there's a lot of like examples of it everywhere. And then the most difficult is kanji, the pictographic ones that we associate with or with Japanese. And so this was actually going back, this was borrowed from like ancient China, ancient Korea, know, and so then they pretty much just took that symbol and then put their own word to it, or their own version of the word, right? It might be the same idea that it represents, but they made a new way to say it. So it's a little convoluted, and there's over 6,000 like individual symbols that you need to learn. But anyways, back to the cell phones, just like when we're trying to like do a long word and that you'll have a predictive text come up, you can do the individual hiragana of a kanji, and then this whole list will pop up. Did you mean this kanji? Did you mean this kanji? Did you mean this kanji? And so like it's less mental load for the kid, but they're not going to remember any of these things.
Right.
Like,
oh wow. Yeah, that's that would be intense.
Indeed. Alrighty.
Okay, let's see. No, just Hogan's Hero. Okay, cool.
But yeah, you guys got any more questions in the chat or voice requests? I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. Grew up on Simpsons, Futurama, that kind of stuff.
Well, Futurama is, if any bender you want to do.
Dang it, that's the one I can't. Because I mean, that's essentially John DiMaggio's voice.
Yeah, right.
Like,
that's fine.
Luckily, my voice falls really similar to Billy West, right?
Okay.
I only have to pitch up just a little to get kind of in like the fry area, maybe a little raspier. Like, oh man, all this radiation's making me thirsty. Oh, come on, Leela, why wouldn't you go out with me? Like that kind of stuff. It's not too hard.
Fry.
And then the professor, you just have to kind of really try him out, give him a little bit more of a British accent, maybe Gandalf quality. Good news, everyone, yes. And then with Zoidberg, you have to just kind of, it's almost like you take like a little paralytic to your lips, your upper lip, and just get completely relaxed. And this young lady, please bring me a sandwich from the dumpster. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Oh, Zoidberg.
Yippee-ki-yay, you'll never guess where I've been.
Oh my
Since we're talking about semen. But
not semen, right? Well, somebody was like, when I was talking about sort of the concept around Merman March, Mermania, and whatnot. I was like, well, and of course, there are all the jokes. I'm like, somebody was like, oh, you want all the semen? I'm like, no, I want semen all over your pages. No.
In
Like,
the
not
Navy.
me. Right. It's like, oh my, yeah, it was.
Wow.
It's funny.
It'll only show up under a black light. Don't worry.
Oh my god, that was one of my favorite. A few years ago, there was a Saturday Night Live episode, and I forget, it was one of the celebrity guests. Because they often, if you watch it, you'll notice that they plug some of the celebrity guest stars are not particularly good, and and that's
not everyone's a comedian.
Yeah, not everyone, not everyone gets on there because they're funny. They're promoting a movie, like they're a big name. It's there's a myriad of reasons why people end up on SNL.
Mm-hmm.
But it was somehow like it was like a product or whatever, and they were selling like the glass, and this was before you could just go on eBay or Amazon or whatever, and buy it, and have it sent. Like, it was a little bit more involved in the early 2000s to get that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were in like I don't know if it was a hotel room or somebody's room, but he put the glasses on, they turn the lights out, the black light comes on, and it's just like stuff smeared all over the wall.
Jackson Pollock painting.
Yeah, it looked like, exactly. And it was the way they had intimated it was like, of course, bodily fluids and like the result of like too much Taco Bell, sort of.
Oh no.
And it just cracked. I laughed so hard because it was just so funny, and it was so basic and so lowest common denominator humor. But I just laughed so hard because, and it was Kenan Thompson was in it, and when the lights came back on, his face, like his facial expression of like, oh my god, what did I just see? Like. It just made it even funnier. Like,
picture is worth 1,000. Funny story, like that Batman audio adventures I was talking about. Kenan Thompson plays Commissioner Gordon.
He is really. It's funny because he's still on Saturday. He's been on Saturday Night Live for like decades.
I know. I knew him from All That on Nickelodeon.
I remember when Good Burger. I worked at Blockbuster when Good Burger came out on. It came out at the theater, and then 2 weeks later, it was on VHS.
Wow.
Yeah, it did not. It was quick. There were a couple, and especially like Nickelodeon and Paramount back in the day, they would push it fast if it failed at the box office because you didn't have to pay as much marketing at that point.
Oh, okay.
Because sort of you have to pay again to market stuff.
So I guess maybe they got like a trade bundle or something.
Yeah,
like
well,
that.
if you've just had everyone on MTV and spent all these months, and like some of that stuff is still going to be in reruns, especially back then on MTV. Like, like if you have your people go on Full House or whatever to do a guest star, like that rerun's going to hit in 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get it out on VHS in 2 or 3 months. Within that window, then that marketing that you lined up months before comes rolling back in.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hey, Brick, how's it going?
Yeah.
I watched your interview with Allison, by the way, as to prep for this, and I was just like, I'm not that good of an artist, but it's good to see Brick having fun.
Yeah, Brick and I trying to be like, oh yeah, like let's just look how accessible this is for the people, and then Brick is, no.
It's like a composition 101 class.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just. Yeah, I've had a few. I did I keep mentioning it, and it's because it's one of my proudest moments. Actually, I got for Carrie Fisher's birthday. I did a few different streams, and I got and I kind of just asked. Sometimes you just have to ask, and I asked Emily, marketing Emily. At Hasbro, like, hey, do you want to? And she was like, I'm not a good choice for that. She's like, who would be great? Emily Cantaloupe. So a week later, she and I did a pre-record, and I got to hang out with her. And she's, of course, like kind of like she's the one who the Princess Leia figure that like showed last week. She's the one who designed the face sculpt, right?
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't talk about that on camera at the time, though. We talked about it a little bit off camera. She was like, I can't go into details, but I'm kind of working on something. and I was sworn to secrecy, and I kept it until now because the figure's out. Can't do anything, Hasbro. But she outcolored. She had a box of Crayola color pencils, and she was like, "Are you sure they're going to be good?" And I was just sitting here the whole time. It's like, you were so good. You were gonna. But if you're gonna get outcolored by somebody, the person who's making the action figures that sit on your shelf, that you sit here and you're like,
yeah, someone with an eye for design at least.
Yeah, right. Like if you're gonna get outcolored by a guest, like, and Brick is another good example. Like, you know, like Brick is one of those people. Brick is watching, so. But Brick is somebody I have a lot of respect for, and I really like his opinion. You know, like I will bounce ideas off of him, and you know, so it's like when I get outcolored by somebody like that. I haven't actually had a guest who, if they outcolored me, I would have been upset.
Well, I know, and it's hard to say that with a straight face. You know, I was outcolored.
It's hard to like, right? It kind of is. You're kind of like, but yeah, but she did. Oh my! It was funny because when she you know held it up to this, she had hers on camera as well. But when I was looking at it, I'm just like, I stupidly said, and this is how you can tell how excited I was. I'm like, wow, it looks like it could be toy packaging. And then of course I'm like, but duh, of course, like,
duh. She's doing what she knows.
Right? This is. You probably whip this out like in your office, but like while you're working on other stuff, and give it like, this is what the packet it should look like. And it was a great time though. It was one of those things where it's like, these are the little moments where, like this right now, I'm having a great time hanging out with you. This is the reason I love doing this, is like getting to hang out and geek out with you and stuff.
Well, thanks. Well, let's continue to do so.
Yeah, well, no. Well, and it's funny because you had, you know, like I made a list of like 20 people I wanted to ask at one point to like do this. And you were one of the people. I'm like, I bet Sean would be really cool to hang out with.
Oh, shucks. Well,
and then you sort of reached
so did you see me from like the Patreon appearance, like the GDL?
Yeah, like you did that one Patreon thing and you were talking about stuff. And I'm like, wow. And then I, of course, had been watching the Master of the Mini Comics episodes because I think those are really cool. I love those.
Thank you. It's so funny. Like I've been doing like VO and pursuing it for like a decade and stuff like that. And like, and just to clarify for people, like this isn't paid work, and like it can't be because we don't have the rights to, to do this. Exactly, but it's some of the most rewarding work I do because, like, I mean, Rob does such a good job with the, like, he has like such an innate sense of what the what the appropriate song would be for like certain moments and stuff. And if you look back, I mean, can you imagine what those episodes would be like without that iconic music? Flat and dead. Like, if you look on Hulu, there's actually an early episode of Thundercats where there's no background audio for like the first interaction between Lion-O and Mumra, and it's eerily boring. It's just so weird.
Well, it's infamously Halloween, John Carpenter, like the first cut that he turned had that music, and people were like, oh, this has nothing. And then he went in and dropped that music, and it's iconic. And
it brings the entire atmosphere, and that's the whole like da na 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 na.
And exactly. Like it's just music is, you know, like, and there's, you know, like a good at risk of having people rampage in the chat. Hello, I think I can't remember if I said hi to Cobweb earlier. That might have been.
We did.
We did. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just he was in the chat before this. Because Hyperdelic, I did an episode of his show, a pre-record that debuted earlier, so I said hi to him there. So anyway,
nice.
Wanted to make sure. Yeah. So anyway,
let's see. But yeah, music, sound, like it touches us. It touches us in ways.
Yeah, it touches us so much that, you know, like our semen on our pages
gets those semen swimming. You know.
Yeah, it's fuller. It doesn't lay flat on the page with the music.
Yep.
It doesn't really it doesn't seep through. That was what I was gonna say. So in The Last Jedi, that scene with the holdo maneuver,
Mm-hmm.
like where it's dead silence, like in the theater, like there are a lot of people now who finger quote The Last Jedi was total trash. Everybody in the theater at that moment was dead silent. Like
Wow.
that shocked everybody in the showing I went to, because it was just like, but it was Star Wars, and Star Wars is really loud a lot of the time, and
Mm-hmm.
like all of a sudden there was no sound, and it
Interesting.
just was really cool, like that moment of like all yeah. So like obviously sometimes no music is also impactful, but it's just like you have to understand sound and like how to use sound through.
Yeah, and to be honest, like that's something like let's see. I'm someone who tends to think and speak quickly, and and I find myself like rushing through my performances, or just at least in the media I consume, trying to be more cognizant of the use of negative space. You
Yeah,
know, like when I was just leading a voiceover workout the other day, and I was like, when we have a script in, or voice acting is not recitation. We're
yeah,
not just reading what's on the page. And if you do that, your read is not competitive, and you're not going to be chosen over the people who are adding a true creative contribution. They're
yeah,
adding what we call efforts and exertions. Like they're, ugh, like putting on my bag, going out the door. This thing, fiddling with my keys, creating what one of my mentors, Brian Summer, calls a sonic environment, right?
yeah,
The idea that if you were to close your eyes, you could glean a lot of the other sensory elements from the vocal performance, right? Like, is somebody like running from something? Are they overweight? Like, are they, like all sorts of things that we take for granted because we have visuals, right?
yeah,
So, but anyways, like I'm even with shows like anime and cartoons and video games where the dialect does move a little quickly. That doesn't mean there's never thoughtful use of pauses, negative
yeah.
space, stuff like that. So I actually like watching stuff with the subtitles on so I can see what an actor does with the script in real time, and how they blend things and play with their voice and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect. I'm just sitting here thinking of all the times I put on the subtitles just so that I will know what they're saying.
It helps, yeah, especially.
I'm like, but Sean, this is part of his study and his craft.
Well, I mean, hell, it's free research, I mean, and people are asking me all the time, where do I find scripts? Turn on the
Right,
subtitles and transcribe the media you consume.
right.
Like, and that transcription, that process gives you another layer of familiarity and internalization as well, you know?
No, that makes perfect sense. What is it that you like about doing voiceover work as opposed to like other types of acting?
Um, well, it's, I mean, all acting is a lot of work, but it's just
Yeah,
like there's fewer barriers to start. Like, I mean, you're not bound by location. Like, you don't have to be in wardrobe hours before a shooting. Like, you don't have to get up at 5 a.m. to show up for makeup. Like, usually I'll do like, depending on how my voice is a given day, I'll do a 5 to 20 minute vocal warm up, and then I'll do my auditions for the day. I have, let's see, I've got what I call my blanket booth in there. It's
nice.
got my mic. It's essentially just a PVC pipe frame, like a rectangular frame,
Yeah,
and then super thick moving style blankets. These ones are called acoustic blankets because they're a little bit more customized for what I'm using it for. But
yeah,
I mean, if you like don't have the budget for that, then you go to your Harbor Freight, get a bunch of blankets for $10 each. You know, um, stuff like that. But so that's probably the best part about it, is that it's just how, like, you don't have to drive anywhere, you don't have to look a certain way, like, and you get to work on all sorts of different things. Like a
Yeah.
lot of what I do, like granted I love cartoons and video games and I have booked them in the past. The majority of what I do is a lot of instructional content, a lot of like corporate narration. Like recently I was talking about like how do you get your budget approved for this company, you know?
Oh
Like
my God.
things like and I remember the most mind-numbing one I did was talking about like different gauges of optic fiber wiring like dozens of miles under the ocean.
It's exciting now.
I know.
Like,
But
hey.
I love, I mean, I really enjoy the flexibility of what I do. Like I can take breaks, I can work in bursts, I can like pace myself. And I get to work with other creatives, and that's always that's another reason I love the Motu mini comic stuff is that
Yeah.
like it's like it's my people, you know. We all love Motu. My buddy Heath Martin, who does like Man at Arms and a lot of the deeper voice characters, we actually met at a voice acting workshop in Seattle together.
Wow.
And we had been friends for going on 5 years before I told him about Geek Dad Life, and then we joined that community, and then we did the mini comics. Like, it's funny, we both approached Rob at about the same time, because like, I saw he was promoting his channel in a chat once, and I encouraged him. I was like, oh, by the way, do you need voice actors? And so that was great. Like, I mean, we did a whole interview with the cast a few months ago, and there I said, it's like, we don't really get, as an actor, you don't really get to determine what characters you get to portray. You know, it depends on who, like, what your relationship with your agents are, what they think you can do. And, like, you can't just be like, yo, put me on hold for He-Man, you know? Like, you can't do that. And like, say something
I bet
with,
you
like...
could do a good Prince Adam, though.
Oh, thank you. Like, I don't know. I definitely... fashion my like, well, come on, Cringe. He's kind of like a more noble Fry if you think about it.
I know. I mean, like, and that I like. Well, and that's the thing. Because I rewatched The Power of Grayskull. That and The Toys That Made Us, and I think it's The Powers of Grayskull where they talk to Cam. Is it Cam Kennedy? Is that his name?
Oh, you mean Cam Clark?
That guy. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
he was talking about how he does, like, he starts low and then works up to being He-Man, but I was just like, yeah, and I get sort of being able to do both, like, gives you that, but it just, at the same time, there's something, to me, really cool about an Adam who is just Adam, and then He-Man is, like, and sort of sells the illusion, I think. So.
A lot better. I mean, the whole... And first off, I love, like, well, 2000X is probably my favorite. Like, I grew up on Filmation, but 2000X has become my favorite iteration of Motu. It's my most complete toy line. Let's see. A lot of the classics figures that I have are 2000X inspired. So you've got... Let's see. God, I'm not good at mirror imaging. So on this side, we've got Marzo. We've got Count Marzo. Wow. And then you've got King Grayskull above him. And then, let's see, I've got like the 2000X style Mossman that Classics did. Yeah. And then King Hiss. Let's see. We just picked up this one at a local con in October. Nice. Yeah. I just like, and he was like... after that con, I was like, I'm never looking for Classics online again because you're going to find so much better deals like from a vendor at a toy show than on eBay.
Yeah, eBay is just, I've stopped looking for anything that people have any sense is worth anything on eBay because it's like as soon as somebody thinks it's worth something, it jacks the price up.
Well, it really set a false precedent for me, too, because I had been wheeling and dealing on eBay, buying and selling there, and then I tried to offload a big thing, or just a big bundle of things to my local toy shop, and it was like a fifth of what I was expecting, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and I asked them, I was like, I'm sorry, I was really off base. Can you tell me a little bit more about your process so I can give better estimates going forward?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, like, because there is on the one hand where they have to, they obviously need to make money on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have noticed that in store and booths and whatnot, prices do tend to be a lot better. Like, I got a vintage Attack Track because I don't think we're gonna get one of those in Origins anytime soon. For like $15 and really good.
Wow,
Like
yeah.
one of the tires is completely like it needs to be fixed. It technically, I haven't put batteries. I don't care if that works.
No, I got a complete vintage Strider that way for about that much. Same with
But it
Darkstalker or
was
Night
not,
Stalker.
like, and I went just when I got home because I'd been looking at them online on eBay, and I was like, it's just gonna be so expensive. And I saw it for like 12, I think it was maybe like 12.50 or something. It wasn't anything, and I just felt like I was ripping the store off. And then I jump on eBay and it's like the same thing and worse condition is like 25 to $50. I'm just like, I don't.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, like I realized too is like growing up, my like, God, if you're ever in Japan, go to a Japanese Toys R Us because we got to
Yeah.
go to one in Okinawa a couple times. My mom would take me out there for like a little half-day trip because it was like 40 minutes away from our house. But anyways, we go out there and it's just like little 10-year-old me just like toys as far as the eye could see, man. It's just wall to wall. And of course,
Yeah.
like, I mean, if you love Transformers, there were so many.
I
Like,
couldn't. Well, that's sort of where they.
oh yeah, it's where they originated. Like
hometown.
like I said, like I was really into Beast Wars because I love animals, and like to me that concept was so awesome. And let's see, like I got all sorts of the unique variants. Like for example, you have your Cheetor and then your Tigatron, which both went to the U.S., but they also made like a Black Panther version that was exclusive to Japan, and we got that for Christmas one year. But no, it was great. It's awesome. My mom was definitely an enabler in that regard.
Oh yeah, my mom was too. Like, yeah, and she had all of her. My grandmother had a doll room full of like Franklin Mint porcelain dolls, and like I would go stay with her, and like I would, like when she would go to the beauty parlor, which like for her generation, like it's an hour or two at most. Most of it but that's the only time her hair got washed all week.
Yeah.
And it was just like this giant bouffant that was frozen. So she would drop me off at the movie theater in town. And then right next to it was like Nichols department store. So she would give me like $20 and like from 1980.
That shit used to go places.
1984 to like 1987, like is sort of this window. So it's like, and this was the summer Back to the Future, The Goonies, Return to Oz.
Wow.
Like I remember, like I went, so I saw The Goonies every day for like, and sometimes she would just want me to go.
Just get away.
So she dropped me off. She probably dropped $100 that week, dropping me off at the movies, and I just go see Goonies 2 or 3 times, and then she'd come pick me up at the end. But when I was done, she would be like, all right, I'll be back at like 4:30, which was enough time to see Goonies twice. And then I go over to the Nichols. And because it was not Walmart, they would have older stuff. So, like I could get like Wave 1 A-back He-Man figures there. Whereas everywhere else had like Moss Man. And, so I was able to get like Tila with red hair after mine broke again. Like, Evil and all the stuff that you couldn't find anywhere. And I remember the one thing that they always had that I always regretted not asking my grandmother to get. They had the Filmation Ghostbusters, the house. They
the fire station.
All the figures,
wow.
all of it, and I was just like, I don't know. The real Ghostbusters, not the. Columbia said they would pay for the rights and then screwed them out of the rights because
that's so unfortunate. And so Filmation just made a bizarre Ghostbusters show.
Well, they just resurrected their Ghostbusters show, and it just, I don't know, like that whole deal. Like, I'm gonna be honest. There are times where like I have a hard time watching any Ghostbusters because I just think about how they screwed Filmation over.
Because it's really, the more you learn about the entertainment industry and entertainers in general, sometimes it's hard to dissociate.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, I mean, if there's plenty of like stand-up comedians and stuff with shady pasts and stuff like that, It's hard. How do you separate art from the artist?
It's a lot easier when it's somebody you like, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like I'm not, like I don't. I'm not a huge fan of Ghost. Even back when Ghostbusters first came out, we went and saw it at the theater, the first one, 1984,
Mm-hmm.
and it was alright, but it didn't land for me the way it did for everyone else. But that was
So,
80,
hot take, my favorite Ghostbusters movie is actually Ghostbusters 2 because that was the first one I saw.
right? See, I like that one even less because I didn't like the real Ghostbusters cartoon, and the movie was
Oh.
clearly trying to bring in all of those
That's what for me, I mean, I was a kiddie kid, so that's what I liked about it. It was that it was more family friendly. I was like, do we really need do we need Dan Aykroyd getting a ghost BJ in a family film?
that was my brother's favorite. He loved the cartoon. I had like the Slimer figure.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, by the time they finally made it, they had come out with a Janine in Wave 1 of real Ghostbusters toys, I probably would have liked it more because,
you hear that, Todd?
Yeah, right? Todd McFarlane.
We don't need a Wonder Woman or a Catwoman. Like, nobody... God.
Oh, Todd McFarlane.
DC has some of the most iconic female superheroes.
If you're going to sell a female action figure, it's going to be like DC, but not Todd McFarlane.
No, it's bizarre.
Whatever, Todd. Whatever. I mean, he now has that fake.
We actually watched the Toy Shiz review of the finally classic Wonder Woman, and that's one of Ray's favorite characters. And I had to explain to her. I was like, "Yeah, Todd's had the license for like 4 years now, and this is the first normal classic Wonder Woman."
We got weird pirate of the Seven Seas, and
you got 300 Wonder Woman. Like you've got. So weird.
Todd's like, I can't make Angela figures anymore, so make Angela and then color her Wonder Woman colors.
I know people were having to customize Power Princess and shit.
All right, really quick, I'm going to check with chat because there was one thing Largo asked that is specific for you. That is an interesting question that I'm sure you know.
Yeah, so actually, one of the few I have done a dubbing project, and they do it different ways depending on what the studio has available. But literally, this time we were just kind of I had so production stuff. So for my booth, or let me back up. So I have my computer here with my monitors and my studio speakers, and then this is like my editing station, and then inside my booth I have a dual monitor that's connected to my Mini, and then another keyboard and trackpad, so I can record, edit in there. So a few years ago, I don't know where it's at now, I got to do this anime for Super Spy Ryan, and I was playing the villain in that one called the Pack Rat, and he was kind of your stereotypical Snidely Whiplash mustache twirling villain, and he. And he actually had a joke where his mustache was fake, and so it would fall off at comedic moments, usually when he gets very animated. But anyways, so in this particular instance, we would just play the video, and then I would just do my best to try to match the lip flaps of the original performance. But now you have different software that people can use where you might get an audio cue for it. So, for example, people might have heard of the beeps. You'll get a boop, 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 blank, and then start. And by blank, I mean, there's an invisible beat there, you know? So, and then you start. So that's one way. And if you're a half second off or early, they can adjust that. They can slide it to match. But nowadays, they'll also, for anime dubbing, for foreign language dubbing, you have software that makes it much more like a karaoke machine or kind of like a follow the bouncing ball kind of thing, where highlight the script and stuff like that, or give you a clear cue with the video file, and then you start here, you stop here, that kind of thing. So, but as you can guess, it's a really it's an exhausting mental exercise. I've done some workshops with this in studios in Seattle where it's literally, so what you do, you have to record this line by line by its nature, right?
Yeah.
Because of the timing. And so, like, this is what you'll do is you'll listen to the original performance to get a sense of the cadence, the emotion, that stuff. And then they're like, "Are you ready?" And they're like, "Okay." They'll play your beats. You're like, "Boop, boop, boop," and then you'll do the line. And if they like it, they'll mark it as done, and then they'll move on to the next one, right?
If you don't like it, you do it again.
You do it again, and that's the thing is like you can't treat your performances as babies because the director certainly won't. Like,
Right.
sometimes they're like, "That was good. What else you got?" You know, and so you can't be too beholden to any one creative idea. So I hope that answered your question. But anyways, we've been talking for like an hour and a half, so I want to make sure we do more voice stuff before we wrap up.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Um,
Really quick, let me answer this question for Largo. If we do, yes, if you're comfortable with the idea of Jim Largo, I thought I detected your foul stench when I was brought on board, and I'll have a little bit more practice to get it because I can get the faux accent if I practice enough.
Nice. Good.
Wait,
Really,
wait.
rather posh.
The more you tighten your grit talk, and the more star systems will slip through your fingers. Like,
Excellent.
there's a way to get that. I just have to not have as much coffee as I've had today.
No, I know. I'm trying to I was.
That's Carrie Fisher pre-cigarettes and pre-booze.
Oh man, girl liked her drugs.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a definite vocal shift between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Oh,
so
man.
It's funny though, in the Force Awakens, there's a point where she and Harrison Ford have that moment where she's like tells him, like when they're leaving to go to Starkiller Base, and she tells them to go get their son, where it's eerie because in that moment Carrie Fisher's voice drops and she has like that youthful softness that she had like Empire-esque, and it was really it startled me. And it wasn't, I mean, obviously it was like actually her in the moment acting, but it was just like she was able to like in that one moment, yeah. And of course it makes sense, like she's being soft and like caring with Han Solo because and like on some level she has to know this is probably the last time she's going to see him because she's read the script. But but it was interesting that like and again it's a vocal thing. Like Carrie Fisher did a lot of her own audiobooks. So like toward the end, like she did probably more voice acting in those later years than she did actual physical acting, which good for her. Like, but it was just interesting to me that in that moment she was able to like drop it and have that youthful, like, not even, I don't want to say sweetness, that's like the vulnerability that Leia occasionally had with Han Solo. So anyway, but yeah,
sorry, I dropped in and out of.
Oh no, you froze a little again. Yeah. Oh.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. You just froze a little bit.
All right, a little bit. If it gets too bad, I'll swap network.
Oh, there we go.
Second, and keep playing.
Well, we go through technical.
A black canary, that would be great.
Yeah, we need a good black. We need her also in her 80s. The shoulder pads and the turquoise, and that's one of my favorite.
He should just do like a whole female wave. If it doesn't sell, it'll prove his point. But if it does, then he has to eat his words.
Yeah, and not do that shirtless baseball pose ever again. So.
Oh no!
Please, Todd. Please, anything but that. So.
Not giving you guys enough progress pics. There we go.
There we go. I'll quickly put you. We'll put you in solo layout so people can get a good look at it.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm not
I know,
just
like
chatting. I'm actually. doing the assignment, guys.
There we go. See, that looks really good. So see, guys,
Well,
Sean was concerned about his ability to color, and here we are. So now I'll be a bad hostess, and I'm going to show mine really quick, just so everyone can get a look.
very nice. I love the shading. That's so cool.
It's pretty cool. So, all right.
All right,
So
awesome.
I've got sort of all the stuff well, I'm going to do some water, the little stuff and the bubbles, but then I'm going to start on Merman. So do you need some sort of prep time to do a Merman voice, or like, can I just
not really. We can just start from, let's see. Well, like, it's funny. I used to, when I was younger, I had a lot more spit, but I used to do it naturally. But then I found out that even Alan Oppenheimer will actually usually drink a little bit of water.
Yeah.
But basically, you have to just gargle while you're speaking. So let me see. So here's like a little conversation between Skeletor and Merman in, let's see, Tila's Quest.
It's a good episode.
So, it seems the woman Tila is on some mission of her own. She's off to the Crystal Sea, your home territory, Merman.
I beg you, Skeletor, let me deal with her. 20 years ago, her guardian man-at-arms rescued a victim I'd selected from the she-demon. I now demand revenge!
So be it!
Oh my god. Well, also excellent Skeletor.
Thank you.
That's a really good Skeletor.
I spent way too much time honing that over the years. So Skeletor's fun. As you can see, it's very nasally. I almost got like a Gilbert Godfrey face going.
It's almost, that would almost make sense. It's just a step or two below Gilbert Godfrey.
Yeah.
Well, not that, like, because that was the reason he did that voice. I mean, did that face was so he could do, because that obviously was not his actual voice. I remember.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean,
that was his real voice. It's like, sir, no.
Yeah, no, and Alan, and the funny thing about Merman is that if you kind of make the growl less bubbly, that's your battle cat right there. Just like, what do you think, cat?
I think we could use a tunnel.
That's just what I was thinking. Like,
right. Oh my god.
And then,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so Alan Oppenheimer did, like, he was Merman, he was Skeletor, he was Battle Cat and Man-at-Arms. And that show was very much like, kind of like how Looney Tunes is for a lot of actors.
Yeah.
That show was the aha moment when I was like, wait a minute, there's only 5 actors.
Right. And
that would lead one to assume that they do multiple characters. Yeah. And so, and then sometimes, so I just started developing an ear for it, and like, my girlfriend definitely humors me because I'm like I'm a voice acting nerd. I like actors. I follow them. I enjoy seeing or hearing them in various projects and stuff like that. But anyway, so that was kind of my inspiration. And then we were talking about Beast Wars earlier. So funny side note, the voice actor for let's see, for Waspinator, for Rat Trap, and I think Silverbolt is one of my favorite voice actors named Scott McNeil. Yeah. And like, if you grew up in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you heard him. He was everywhere. He was on Street Fighter. He was on Double Dragon. He was on Conan the Adventurer. He was on the New Adventures of He-Man. He was Flipshot. But he pretty much used his Waspinator voice for the 2000X version of Merman, right? Okay. So, I can't remember any good Waspinator, but anyways, like, a common one for Merman is, Skeletor will be very pleased with today's cat.
Oh, God. That's a perfect, like, cartoon, like, flunky villain voice too, like.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if it's very similar to Gollum, for example, like, so I mean, Merman's up here and is happy and stuff like that, but Gollum is just odd. You make him a little bit down here, a lot more raspy and a lot more creep. Add some gurgles in there. Splish, splash, hobbitses. That kind of thing.
Oh, stupid hobbitses.
Yeah.
17 lunches or whatever it is.
Oh, interesting.
No, I think
Oh,
yeah,
11.
it's like
Oh,
yeah, it's like whatever the breakfast. They have like 20 breakfasts or something.
second breakfast is a very important meal.
That's it. It's the second breakfast. I've only don't tell anybody, but I've only seen those like once, and it was like the
Oh man.
17-hour version, so I fell asleep.
Oh no. I grew up on like I watched the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the
Those,
Rings when I was very young.
yeah, I was taken to the theater to see those.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not
crazy.
old. I'm old enough that I've seen the original New Hope before it was called A New Hope.
Wow.
I remember. Then I also saw the first time it said A New Hope, and the first time it said Episode 4. Like
before it was even like the trilogy was
yeah,
realized.
like my
That's
parents.
cool.
For Christmas in 1978, we sent off our early bird figures because that was, no,
Wow.
77. So that, for
The
78.
original pre-orders.
Yeah, right? Exactly. The original crowdfund. Yeah, I'm that old. Which is why I was a little bit, like some of these, like I think part of why Ghostbusters, especially the cartoon, didn't land was probably a little, like Turtles, I think hit my first year in like or my first year in high school, maybe somewhere in there. So it was a little, it's not quite the cultural touch. It's what my brother liked because he was like 6 years younger than me, so he was the right age for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like a little older, but yeah, all of the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So that was sort of like the flunky voice of the
yeah, like we're talking about the Don Messick kind of thing. Like you would recognize him from like Johnny Quest and Space Ghost, and whenever there had aliens kind of talking like this, get the humans, like
I'm sure Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space. There's at least one episode where they broke that accent out.
Like Frank Welker would do voices like that, and for sure. And here we'll just have a lot of interesting kind of, the silly Munchkin characters. And of course, like, I love Frank Welker, but some of his ones were a little bit too out there. I was watching, like, an old episode of Darkwing Duck, and I was just like, all right, can we dial it down a little, Frank?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, sometimes.
But he is amazing. I mean, like, you gotta love those, like,
his Dr. Claw voice is great, and apparently that's what they used for Soundwave.
But then they would just modify it, like, or through a harmonizer or something like that.
Can you imagine somebody in that voice, like, hand me the vapor? Just that's the line. Say it in that voice. Hand me the vapor rub.
Who am I talking to?
I don't know, not me, but just in general. Like, it's the villain is saying to like He-Man, hand me the vapor rub.
All right, Gadget, hand me the vapor rub.
Oh, that's so creepy, but funny too. Sorry, I think.
No, absolutely. And let's see, another character that Scott did was Dinobot, and did the vocalations for the original Predator. Interesting. I didn't know about that.
Really cool.
I'll have to fact check that. I know he was Falcor in the Neverending Story. You were gonna ask for a Gollum early. Do you have any favorite?
Let's see. You guys want to drop some requests in the chat?
Yeah, go for it. There's a great. If you ever watched the new Harley Quinn show on Max, like Alan Tudyk is Clayface, and he's just amazing. He's like, let me let you in on a little secret many people outside the entertainment industry don't really know. All actors are vain.
Right. Alan Tudyk is really like
underappreciated for sure.
He's not among nerds. Like all of us nerds, like we appreciate everything about him, but outside of nerd culture, he like just doesn't.
He's everywhere. though. Freaking everywhere. He was in Frozen. He was in Zootopia. He was in Elemental, in Moana. He's the freaking
Rogue
chicken in
One.
Moana. Like, he was in Wreck-It Ralph. He played the Candy King. He
Yeah,
did
well,
a
that's the
fabulous
thing,
job.
He does voice work. He does actual in front of camera stuff. Like, he's just.
And so it kind of dovetails into a question you were asking about earlier about actors, voice actors, audiobooks, and stuff like that. Many actors don't really differentiate that is a separate vocation, right?
Okay.
The idea of voice acting as its own occupation is maybe 2 or 3 decades old.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe, again, because, again, I'm that old. It's like, you know, like you would, you know, again, Hanna-Barbera is a perfect example. There was sort of the same 5 to like 10 people doing all of those
Yeah,
cartoons.
it was all it was
work other than, you know, like the original Velma. It's not like she did a lot of other work.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's like if people are interested in voice acting, I encourage people to pursue acting, you know?
Okay.
Like cuz a lot of people look at it as the easy Ian, right? The easy quick rich scheme,
Right.
you know? No acting is a get rich quick scheme.
No.
You know? You have to assume like I mean, it's different for everyone. Like I've seen people who are off to the races in 6 months, but for most people it's like getting an associate's degree. You know, you got to train for 2 years and then like get your marketing materials ready and then set up like shop and launch and promote, you know? But a lot of people who come to this as a quick get rich quick scheme very often have no like sense of how they sound and if they're good and like and they're just gonna be disappointed because Ryan Cranston from Breaking Bad like said it best, like you can do everything right but there are no guarantees. Like there's plenty of like subjective and arbitrary elements that are outside of our control that like even if you are the best job, maybe you sound like the producer's ex and they don't want to hire you, you know? Like
or the producer has a new girlfriend and like
they want them to get the job, you know? So there's a lot of funny like there's our like misconception about how entertainment works and the reality of it, you know? Just like the whole like there's the whole joke about like con nerds like asking questions to actors that we don't know. It's just like we don't have ownership of these characters, you know? We might build a relationship with them and we may get very familiar with them because we help create the character, but we don't usually have license to do with that character what people think we can. You know, we can't make creative decisions unless we are a creator of the thing. You know? But anyways, yeah, like other voice requests or questions about voice acting, I'd love to hear them.
All right, let's see. Largo just Googled it and it was actually Peter Cullen who was part of it.
Ah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
Let's see.
Any voices in cartoons that you feel were a bad fit? Are we talking modern or late? Or let's see. Just because it was top of mind, I was. Let's see. I just watched X-Men '97 yesterday, and I really enjoyed it. I thought the guy who took over for Cyclops was spot on. For not being the same actor, you wouldn't have known. I was very impressed. I miss Magneto's original voice actor, but I assume he passed or his voice has just changed too much. Like, I know a lot of people were disappointed that Alan didn't play Skeletor in Revolution, but even he himself admitted, I couldn't sustain it anymore. Like, so that happens, you know, especially 30, 40 years down the line. Like,
well, yeah, for sure. Like vocal... your voice changes for most of us.
And like you could kind of hear it with Lenora Zahn, who plays Rogue, but she's a fascinating woman because she was also like a politician in Canada.
Well, like, see, my Lenora's it ties back into the horror thing. There's this really one of my favorite slasher films from 1981. Melissa Sue Anderson from Little House on the Prairie. Happy Birthday to Me, and Lenora Zahn is in that. She plays one of the snotty prep school kids in it. So
Very cool.
whenever you know, because that's what I used to do. Like when I first got onto the internet, like eBay, downloading Liz Phair music,
Mhm.
um, spent hours and hours on Internet Movie Database, and like
Oh yeah.
it was around the time Lenora Zahn started her political career. And really quick, my art phone the battery just died.
Oh no.
Oh, it happens. Sir.
Let's see. Other voices in cartoons that are a bad fit.
Sir.
I don't know. Like, well, actually, yeah, we were talking about Revolution. Clearly, that was like talking about like reasons why people get cast. Like, I'm sure Kevin Smith was just like, who are my favorite DC characters, or actors, Because I mean, a lot of that cast, Kevin Conroy, Susan Eisenberg as Sorceress,
Yeah.
excellent casting though. She's very like great for that. But one of my, what got me was Alicia Silverstone as Marlena.
A lot of people did not like that, and I enjoyed it.
Why did you enjoy it? No, just
because I like Alicia Silverstone. And
I do too. I loved her as Batgirl, but
and there was something really cool to me about her and Dietrich Bader, like sort of paired off in that. Like I don't know. I liked like
well,
I
to
had
me,
a
it's
huge
just
crush.
maybe
Well, I still have a huge crush on Dietrich Bader.
Bader's great. I love his Batman in Brave and the Bold.
I cracked a joke one time on Twitter back when it was still Twitter to him, and he liked it and retweeted it, and I swear it was better than the day that. Well, no, it was not. Nothing will ever top the day where, like, have you ever seen the movie Sliver with Sharon Stone and Billy Baldwin?
No, I don't think so.
It's one of those sexy thriller things. Anyway, there's a scene with the column where he like kind of pushes her up against it. Anyway, one of my friends on Twitter was like, "Oh my God, I just saw Sliver. It was great." And I'm like, "And it's prime hot Billy Baldwin." The whole reason I wanted a marble column was that movie.
That's funny.
Forgot about it. 3 weeks later, I go and there's notifications that somebody liked one of my tweets, and I looked and Billy Baldwin had liked my tweet about why I wanted that column and his hotness, and I was both embarrassed and like Billy
so
Baldwin.
Proud.
Yeah, I was very much like, okay, I have arrived. But anyway, so. Yeah,
but yeah, so maybe for me, for Alicia Silverstone, I just associate her with younger characters, and like, I mean, Marlena was already mature in the original series, and like, and when she looks like she's 50s, 60s, she sounded like she's still in her 20s or 30s, and she was a little bit too, like, I guess she was playing up the loss of her son, but she sounded really melancholy and almost whiny at times to me, and I just felt like it was such a betrayal of Marlena's character that, and also I was okay with Sarah Michelle Gellar as Tila, but I prefer Melissa Benoist. I think she has.
Yeah, I think Melissa did well.
Like we talk about this idea of like strong female characters, and for a very long time they just try to portray them as stoic male characters. And why can't, like, or I mean, Tila was always like, we remember those classic crotch shots from the Filmation, like she was very feminine, but anyways, like but yeah, she was still very girly, and she's like, Sarah Michelle definitely caught the mercurial nature in the, like, the disobedient aspect.
I think, and this is my take, like, I feel like Melissa would not have worked in Revelations because of what Tila's character arc was.
I can see that.
I think Melissa worked for what Revelations was, but I think for Revolution, right, Melissa was perfect. For Revelation, I think Sarah Michelle, and some of it is her bringing, like, I think it's a case, for me at least, it's this case where it's like she's sort of bringing the baggage of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with her. Like, there's no way to separate Sarah Michelle Gellar from Buffy. Sorry, Christy Swanson. Not sorry.
Hey, she was great, Daphne. I like
Yeah,
what she
right?
did for Daphne.
Yeah, like right. She was a really good Daphne, but also like again, Daphne got sort of an upgrade in that movie because it was Saruman. Like suddenly Daphne had some moves and stuff, right?
Yeah,
She
they
wasn't
probably
sort of
made her more of an action
they
character
made her a
because of
little
that.
bit more action because that's so I think it worked. I think this switch worked for me. Alicia Silverstone just worked.
But it was funny.
Because it
Rachel
was
and I were watching the old Filmation, and there's an episode where even the attack track reveals that he knows that Adam is He-Man.
right.
I was like, damn, I'd be a little salty
Yeah,
if this
right.
frickin' AI knew
Well,
who Adam was.
that's the thing. Like, you know, and that was sort of my point. If you watch any of the Geek the F Outs coverage, like I was on a couple episodes and I just kept coming back. Even Orko knew.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, but Orko found out through this. I'm like, they wiped Tila's memory when she found out who her mom was. They couldn't wipe Orko's memory that like about him. Like it makes sense that she would be insulted. Like,
Yeah.
you know, how many
Maybe, well,
times
it's
did
hard.
she put
Anger
herself
and
at
grief
risk?
makes us do
Oh, yeah.
irrational things.
Well, not only that, how many times did Tila almost sort of get herself? You know, not that you die in Filmation, but like in the Revolution world, the equivalent of those adventures, there were many times she almost got herself killed trying to save, quote unquote, save Adam, even though He-Man was right there next to her. Like,
Yeah. No,
so
I mean,
it made perfect, you know, like, and I mean, obviously not, you know, like, I didn't date somebody who turned out to be the most powerful man in the universe, who I was in a love triangle with, but, you know, similar situations with one of the Carls. And that betrayal went deep. Like, it seemed irrational to some people or whatever, but it's like when you feel betrayal is a weird emotion. So,
well, I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, even if we're like, I mean, she loves Adam, even platonically, you know?
yeah,
Oh God, the Scrappy Doo thing was just unnecessary and awful.
nobody
Like,
likes Scrappy Doo.
I didn't mind him, but that was the weird thing too. Is like the old, like, back to Filmation, like the whole child insert characters, like
Yeah.
Orko, and apparently they had the rights to Batman in the 70s, and they like. Batmite is just Bat Orko, you know? It's
Yeah,
just,
right.
I mean, it's also Lou Scheimer, and it's practically the same voice.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny to me. I don't know why
Well, that's
people.
what was fun. That's also what's funny about that documentary is when his daughter Erica is talking. I'm like, oh my god, it's Lookie. How like
Oh yeah, she
still
was
sound like she didn't do a voice. That was just her talking as Lookie all those years. I'm like, oh my god.
interesting. She
Yeah, every
played
time
a
they would
couple
interview her.
characters, like she was Angela, and
Yeah.
that's a pretty good voice for her. But I'll never forget in like the fourth or fifth episode, like the Battle for Fright Moon of the
Yeah.
She-Ra series, where she's like, Hordak, you will surrender Castle
Yeah.
Bright Moon
Yeah.
to me.
trying not to-
Just like,
Trying
what
not
are
to
you?
drop Nepo baby in here because that's not what we called it back then. We just called making sure your kid wasn't homeless. But
Well,
her
kudos to-
Angela was very much like this is like I apologize for what I'm about to do to your profession, but no, Hordak, that is not what we are going to do with this situation. Like it's just like it was
It's
so
the vocal quality is fine, but it's the cadence, you know.
it's like you're trying to pretend to be like your mom on the phone when the principal it's like that. Like,
Totally. But I
it's
mean, as
not-
much as
it's
we
not
love
me.
Filmation, let's not kid ourselves about
Yeah,
like
right.
it didn't always have the best writing or the best voices. A lot of like we were watching, oh my god, we were kind of revisiting season 2, and there's this one I love Webstar. He's another favorite character of mine.
Webster's a
But
pretty
like,
good
for if you look at a guy like this, like, what kind of voice would you give him? Probably
Right.
not something like this. Like,
Yeah,
there's a whole scene where they gas He-Man and they make him pass out. And he's like,
He
"Ha! We
should've-
did it. We beat
yeah, he
He-Man."
should've
Ha!
had, like something really low and like just a moment. I don't think they haven't had treats yet.
And then I think, but yeah, something low, snarly, more creature-like, which is what they did for the 2000X. He's like,
Yeah,
Don't worry,
like that.
Skeletor.
Yeah,
I'm
that
staying
works
to
a lot,
fight.
like that kind of
better
thing.
for Webster. So, no.
But no, I love those episodes, like Web of Evil. You got your Fisto, you got Webstore. He's like an actual threat, like. And that was one of the reasons I liked 2000X so much, was that it really did explore these characters and differentiate them and give them more backstory. And I love that Scott decided that Stratos needed to sound like Sean Connery. So,
That was a pretty. Well, it helped. I think it made.
well, if you look at his costume, it's very like Zardosh, It's got
Yeah.
like the same kind of straps across the crotch.
Oh, that movie. I remember when I worked at Blockbuster, like, because it was one of the old Warner Brothers clamshells where they didn't, like, do anything other than just slap a picture on it. So, like, it was just
I
a
remember
random
those.
photo
Yeah.
of him in that. The first giant, I mean, later they fixed it on a reissue, but that first one, it was just a random publicity photo of him in that costume.
He
slapped
looks
on
like
there.
he's wearing a Vampirella costume. It's just...
Yeah. Which I think, is one of the reasons I am a little bit probably kinder to Vampirella than I should be, because it's like, they're just paying homage to
Zardos.
Yeah, to Sean Connery. So.
Indeed. I'm afraid your plans for world domination are over, Jack.
Yeah,
I thought Matthew Lillard was excellent. No,
Yeah.
and he went on to voice him in some of the animated features, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the character design for Adam. I love that. The figure, not so much. I jokingly call it Matt Damon Prince Adam, but like,
well, that Prince Adam is one of the best likenesses of Mark Hamill we have ever got.
I know everyone calls it the Jedi Luke. Very much like between the bowl cut, but to me it just looks like the puppet in Team America, like Matt Damon.
Right? Oh, Matt Damon.
But it sucks because I love that portrayal of Adam, and he really did an awesome job. Like, he wasn't just a jacked 30-year-old who got a tan.
Yeah, that always threw me about Filmation was when they even out. I'm trying to think what. I think it's one of the DC comics from like 1980. Because again, because I've been working on some of these videos, I've been rereading all of that. And there's one of the I'm pretty sure it's the DC Comics miniseries, which is right when they established the Adam He-Man thing. Because before that, of course, like He-Man was just.
He would go to the cave of, the early Adam stuff was the Cave of Power, but
Yeah,
before
right.
that was the Barbarian.
It was right after, sort of right when they were establishing. Part of that was, like kids relate to secret identities, but there's a scene, and at some point it'll end up in a video because it was just really clearly like them trying to justify it while they were writing it, while it was, as they were publishing it. And Adam actually thinks, because he's there for for King Randor, and Adam is like, how is it that nobody recognizes me? The only difference is I'm wearing a different outfit.
No, in those comics too, there was no skin tone change.
There was not, right? And he literally says it in the comic, like,
maybe there's like a magical illusion.
Yeah, at the same time, like Randor's got a thought bubble where it's like, if only my good for nothing son was as amazing as He-Man was, and it's just it's funny, like.
My headcanon is that everyone is just humoring Adam. Like, all right, Adam, go ahead and get to safety.
Right? Yeah, right. But that's what always sort of made sense, that like Marlene, and there's that episode of Filmation where like Marlene,
the Rainbow Warrior,
yeah, she has only one shot and she uses it to free Adam. And the fact Adam didn't figure it out right then and there that his mom actually knew.
He's like, Mother, why did you free me? Like, well,
and
she just knows what her son is capable of.
Right.
Adam. And that's another, I loved Marlena's portrayal. Like, it didn't hurt that, like, my mom had the same haircut as her. But,
that was a very mom 80s cut, though. So.
Yeah. She, like, I think it was popular with nurses at the time, too. But,
you hit 35 and, like, hair is too much work. So, like, you got to get a modified Dorothy Hamill.
Nice. But yeah, she was just a strong and like confident character and like very sultry voice, we'll say. And it's unfortunate they didn't really give her as much character development in 2000X. Maybe they didn't even imply she was from Earth. Like maybe they just thought trying to make it its own thing or make Eternia a little bit more self-contained.
Well, yeah, and the whole like her being from Earth, I think at times was contentious. Like, because the original that is again another thing that I touch on the Skeletor video that's going to hit next week. But because originally her crew was Evelyn Powers.
Oh yeah,
Biff Beastman and Dr. T.S.
Dr. Scope. Yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Scope. And they, of course, land on the evil sister planet Infinita. And they're transformed into Evelyn, Beastman, and Triclops. And
yeah, I think it was a Golden Book where they talked about that. It was like Visitors from Earth or something like that.
Yeah, the new champions of Eternia.
Yes, that's what it was. Because they have like a whole games kind of thing to show off your strength and intelligence and all that stuff.
So yeah, no, it's literally that's what I've been looking at all week.
And then everyone's got terrible anagrams for their names, like I am Steelorc, not Skeletor. Like,
right. Yeah. The cats are harassing Matt. But yeah, no, I've been looking at that particular, and the art on that book is also not very good. So that
was the thing, is like those Golden Books, all the budget was on the cover art.
Well, and it just also depends on who the artist was on those. Like sometimes you get a really good artist and it would look great, and other times not so much.
Totally.
All right, let's see. How are you doing on yours? I'm getting pretty close to.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up.
Sweet.
Coloring in the last of the blue. Might have to darken his.
I'm gonna get it. Trying to figure out if I should. I think I'm gonna do not toy color. Cross-cell art color on his face, even though this is like obviously.
No, I know. I had to. I've got like the little Super 7 Filmation version behind me as a reference. Yeah. They didn't quite give the frill or the scaling around his eyes, but I colored it orange out of.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Well, I'm gonna do yellow, and then I'm gonna add some browns and some oranges to build it up.
Fancy, but
I've done so much Merman this month.
I'm sure. So did you invent the idea of Mermania?
I kind of did.
You did? Okay.
I was like, hey, guys, it would be fun this month if we did Mermania for March. And I don't know why. I guess Merman March.
Alliteration points.
Yeah. Well, in a few years, not like last year during May, it was Mermaid May, like over on ColorTube. They were all doing... and I didn't have any Mermista pages that I cleaned up or bought at the time, so I couldn't really do anything for that. And then I was just like, I want to do some test runs of doing like some hashtags and sort of doing collaborations with other channels and stuff. So I'm like, here's a nice sort of fun thing that I can do that is very like easy to buy in if you want to buy in and be part of it, or you can just pretend it's not happening. So
totally.
But it's been cool. Like a lot of people, like Chris at Shiny Plastic People, like he's done some Mermania content, and I've gotten some stuff out.
Your dictator thanks you.
And you obviously worked out that we were, because because you and I have been trying to line up for a while now to make this happen.
Couple months, yeah.
And it finally just, yeah. So it's pretty cool. Like
I said, I'm trying to get back in the interwebs a little bit more and do the rounds. And poor Ray and I have been sick the last month with just like various viruses and ear infections. It's not fun. Like last month was like 5 or 6 appointments between me, her, and the cats had their physicals, and it was just an expensive month.
Yeah, it happens. No worries there. It just was perfect because originally like I had said, I'd had this weekend sort of blocked out so I could try to make it to the Bay Area, and then health stuff and other things on my side just made it not feasible. So I was like, well, I can just drop one of my pre-records and then you ping me like, hey. And I was like, this is perfect. Let's do it.
No, it's great. And I was just like, once I found the theme, that was sort of the catalyst. Because, I mean, again, as you guys see, one of my favorite Motu characters, I loved, like, a lot of people know about the crappy distribution of 2000X. Like, I used to see them in my Walmart. I'd pick up a few. I got, like, a Triclops and a Mechanic, and, like, my mom got me, like, a He-Man and Skeletor 2-pack and stuff like that. But then, didn't see anything for a long time. And I was like 18 at the time, and I actually did an exchange trip in Germany. And just one day, I was randomly like in a department store, and on the top shelf, 2000X figures, Man-at-Arms and Merman, and I was like, done. I don't care that they're like $30. Like $30. I don't know if I can spend that on an action figure, right? God, 30 years ago.
I remember when Classified Classics started and thinking $25. What?
I know. Like, I was raised on KB toy sales.
Yeah. Oh my God, KB.
We used to, when we would visit the States from Okinawa, my dad would take me to the mall and we'd go there. And that was unfortunately when KB was going out of business, but they had all those amazing sales, like 3 for $15 and stuff like that. Like, it was bittersweet, but I got a lot of those. Like, I think some of the random Spider-Man variants that were going around at the time, like the Vampire Wars, and then a lot of those 10-inch figures, just like the Marvel Universe ones.
I remember one year I got income tax, and it was like it was right before I moved to Austin, and so I was getting all this like official stuff done, and I wandered into, it was a KB outlet store.
Oh, okay.
So there was even better deals than regular KB. And they had a bunch of those 10-inch, it was like those 10-inch ones that were basically just the little ones scaled up.
Yeah,
but they
like
were
the
like
5 points.
There were a bunch of them for like $3.99. And then they had like all the Flash Gordon Playmates figures for like $1.50. So I dropped like $100 in KB toys. And
damn.
In 1995, it was like 97, I think. So yeah, like I dropped too much, and then of course I was moving, so like most of it just went. I opened it. I'm like, this is cool. Put it on the shelf, and then it all went right into storage.
Went back into a box. Oh no!
I went right into storage. So like, but it was cool for like that month that it all sat on the shelf.
No, it's tough. It's just like, I love this hobby, but it's just like, even I'm like, you can't buy everything. You can't just constantly acquire for years at a time.
I've been cracking down on that. Like, there's a lot of stuff where I'm just like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I moved to this house like almost 2 years ago. And so that time there was definitely a big purge. I actually, like I said, I went to a local toy shop in Tacoma. If anyone's ever in Tacoma, Washington, highly recommend Tricky's Pop Culture Emporium.
Next time I'm up there, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's in like the U district.
With BobaCon closed, I was like, I don't know. Next time I drive up for.
They're only like an hour south from where I am now in Bellingham, Washington, and I've been there a handful of times. But unfortunately, they changed locations, and I don't know what the status on that is.
BobaCon, my understanding is right now they don't have any location. They're only online at this time.
Only doing online sales. According to their Facebook, they were looking to a new location. But
yeah, and it went down pretty suddenly. So
yeah, they had a change in management. They said I was worried they had been broken into. But
yeah, they have. They had a pretty amazing. It's been almost a year since the last time we drove up there, but
it is the gem of
Yeah.
Washington toy
Well,
stores.
not only that though, but also again, like they have pretty reasonable prices for it's
not
fair
too
market
bad.
price.
Like Revelations Origin stuff is pretty much retail. Like they've got classics. Like I've been tempted by the 2000X Grayskull. They've got that. And then they have a whole glass chest of like more expensive Motu. Like
Yeah,
somebody had like a whole 2000X collection that they were getting rid of.
Yeah.
I almost bought like the Keldor STC exclusive for like $100 loose, but I was like, no, it's loose. You've got the classics version. Like
you don't need another one that bad. The thing that would always get me in that case was the mint on card Starburst She-Ra.
Ouch. No, they had some nice She-Ras there too. They had like the classic Galactic Guardian She-Ra and some other ones. And like in a signed Origins, signed by Melendi Britt, that they were selling for like $200. And my girlfriend was drooling, but she doesn't like. I'm the action figure collector. She just enjoys from afar.
Yeah, that's a pretty good figure though. Like if you're gonna become an action figure person for just one action figure, that's the one to do it for.
Cool. Well, I don't know, unless you have any suggestions, I think I'm done.
Let's take a look really quick. Very good. Do solo layout.
There we go.
That looks really good.
Now it's like he's swimming. Now he's
nice.
Get them both. Obey your master and destroy them.
Mine is not quite finished, but it's pretty close.
You have shading and much more.
Yeah, I've got to do
color saturation.
His pants, the seaman's pants, are not colored yet, so.
No
but I'll
black
fix that. I'll finish that offline and then post it on the interwebs. So really quick, let me check because a few people slid in right here as we wrapped up. Where is it? Yeah. So yes, exactly. Yeah, Thanos has done some Merman content for this month, so check him out on Instagram. But do keep in mind, not all of his stuff is always safe for work. So make sure you're doing that without, your mom over your shoulder or whatever. And that's accurate, Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Gady's Toys is now on YouTube. Go check out his Am I Ladies of the Action Figure World. Carol, hello. There you are.
Hi, Carol.
Yeah.
Oh, nice picture. Cool. Is that like a tiefling?
Yeah. So, all right. Just wanted you guys to know that we saw you. It's just we're right at the end. So I'll finish Merman. I'll tag you on Instagram with that tag. Take a picture, tag me on Instagram so I can see and so everyone can see what you did. And then if you're not, should people follow you on Instagram before I?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and be more active. Okay. So it's at Sean Daeley, SeanDaeley, just like right there. And then let's see, if you want to listen to my VO samples, you can check out my website, DailyVO.com. I also gave Allison a copy of my voiceover resource document, which is voiceover career questions and considerations. So, and I go through everything, recommending all the coaches that I've worked with, both with my fellow staff members at Global Voice Acting Academy and everyone I worked with before or outside of that, all of the equipment that I use or see used by voice actors of various price points. And then at the end, just a bunch of free and inexpensive resources like books, podcasts, articles that you can follow just so you can... I'm a big fan of learn what you can for free and then hire expert opinions that can help push you further. So,
so in the description of this video, I have the link to the Google Doc and then globalvoiceacademies.com. So that's there in the description. So if any of you are interested, go check it out. And I will tag him on Instagram. So if you want, go give him a follow. Obviously, he enjoys talking about this stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and I love answering questions and helping aspiring voice actors pursue their goals, right? So
Yeah, let's do it. So anyway,
Awesome.
you guys go follow Sean, and thank you, Sean. And before we wrap up, I'm gonna ask for you to say do like goodbye in Merman voice.
All right. We can do it both or quickly. One thing that I wanted to talk about before we left was just the different ways that you can do Merman, right? So if you have enough saliva, you can do it yourself. If you need a little bit more, just have some water, but don't choke. And then another one I learned too from Michael Bell, like lots. He was on like Snorks and stuff like that. Is that you can do this, you know? So if you just talk while you kind of trib or I don't know, treble your lips or vibrate your lips, you can do that. So there's this great scene that Merman does in 2000X where he gets blown out of that the giant pufferfish thing, and so he's like he's screaming as he's being jetted across the ocean. And he's just like. So now you can do that too.
Do that
but
too.
So let's try it a couple of.
So, toy, retro toy princess, and all of her live stream chat companions, farewell. And if you're ever in the Crystal Sea, give me a ring, okay? And then, yes, if you come visit us, Skeletor will be very pleased with today's catch.
Oh my god, that's perfect, Sean. That's fucking perfect.
Thank you. I felt awesome. I like
that was amazing.
Thank you.
And let's see, really quick, just so that you can know, people have definitely appreciated you today. So
oh, thank you, Largos. I love thank you for participating in the chat. I love that whole little like bites a tadpole wax joke from the Coca-Cola campaign. But this was a lot of fun. I'd love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, no, we definitely I am a fan of having people return. It makes it easier to not have to track people down and ask them. If I can just be like, hey, you had a good time, you should come back.
We could do Stratos next time. That's another one.
Because I did print out Stratos, because when we first talked, those were the two pictures you picked out, was Stratos and Merman. And obviously if I had finished, I would have started started Stratos, but for next time. And for those in chat, Rachel, your significant other who does She-Ra and a lot of the ladies over on Masters of the Mini Comic, I'm going to be trying to line up with her to do some She-Ra stuff. So anyway.
Very cool. I've been really happy, and she has to, like, obviously these characters are really important to her. She'll tell more about it, but like when I kind of introduced her to He-Man, because she's a few years younger than me, and She-Ra as well, and she was just like, where was this when I was a child?
Yeah, right?
You know? But yeah, thanks so much for doing this. Yeah, as Allison said, you can reach out to me through my website, dailyvo.com, as in every day, like not how it's spelled, because it's a little bit easier that way. So dailyvo.com. You can also follow my friends at globalvoiceacademy.com. 80s kids will love to know that Katie Lee, the voice of Sheila from Dungeons and Dragons, is one of our animation coaches.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, and also Honker Muddlefoot from Darkwing as well, and many others. But yeah, so check that out, and of course the Masters of the Mini Comics on YouTube. And if you have any questions, reach out.
Excellent. And I think again, people are enjoying you today, so thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Thanos Copter, Hyperdelic.
Hello
and goodbye, Rolando.
Yeah, right at the end. But hey, if you're going to show up fashionably late, be very fashionable about it, as Rolando often is. So
excellent.
All right. So let's see. This is where I have to do my YouTube stuff. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., a collection of shorts will be popping up. It's all the stuff I think from November. So if you don't watch shorts on YouTube, but you like the time-lapse coloring, 10 a.m. You can see everything I did, and yeah, it's November. On Wednesday, there will be a Skeletor video going up, and it's another one of the ones where I had Matt dramatically read the Kid Stuff record and the 80s style.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't know any of that stuff, so he just sort of made up voices for it, and I purposely. And it's funny, his Skeletor is kind of in line with it. So there's something about Skeletor that just has a vibe. And then there's some history of Skeletor. You know, I'm not just resurrecting an old storybook and coloring it and then having my boyfriend read it. We're given a little Skeletor 101. So there's that. And then next Friday, there's a color and chill. I forget which one. I think actually it's Skeletor. There we go. Synergy. The card back art. And the next Sunday for Easter, I will be here with Muriel, and we're going to do some strawberry shortcake. So
sounds cute and delicious.
Yeah, it's all good. So that is the YouTube stuff. Thank you again, Sean.
It's been my pleasure, Allison. And thank you, YouTube land. And Instagrams.
Thank you, everyone. And we will see you all soon. I'm Retro Toy Princess, Allison Troy, and we're out.
Bye, guys.